What up, everybody? Good morning and happy Monday. DK Show coming to you from the TDS Sports Talk studios this morning. Big thanks for making us a part of your start, whether you're listening on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available to stream up online, sportstalk1051.com. You got the Wisco Sports App. Download that, take it on the go. You've got the YouTube video stream also up and rolling. Your Alexa devices, just say, yo, Alexa, play WAYY. But hopefully you all had a absolutely fantastic weekend, and you're ready to hit up a brand new work week. Maybe it's the first week or first day back for a lot of you after an extended holiday break, whatever the case may be. Thanks for making us a part of your start here this morning. Man, what do we got on our game plan for us this morning? Well, we know, first of all, let's lead off and give a proper shout out and a big time congrats to UW River Falls football last night, winning the Stag Bowl and becoming your Division III national champions in football. So big time congrats again to UW River Falls and taking out a perennial powerhouse in North Central too. So UW River Falls got behind early, down to originally 14-3, but defense locking it down, and that high-powered offense getting them back in the game, 24-14 victory for UW River Falls last night. So again, congrats goes to the Falcons for capturing the national championship last night in the Stag Bowl in football. Speaking of football, the NFL regular season is now officially in the books, and we are on to the postseason. And it's the rubber match. We get round 3, Packers versus Bears. If you didn't see the game time announcement last night, it will be a Saturday night game. Saturday night, 7 p.m., and don't shoot the messenger. It is on Amazon Prime. So if you don't have it, I don't know what to tell you. You might have to go somewhere or sign up for a trial or sign up for, to watch for a month. It is what it is. I know some people are upset, annoyed with it, but can't really do anything. I can't do anything about it. So, but just passing it along. It is on Amazon Prime Saturday nights. So, but Packers Bears round 3. We know how those first 2 games went, and here we go. It kind of looked a little sketchy. I think for the most part yesterday, if you were watching some of the afternoon games and kind of wondering, is it going to be the Eagles? Is it going to be the Bears? And for a big chunk there, it looked like it was going to be the Eagles because Detroit was kind of having their way against Chicago. And then it was kind of close, back and forth a little bit between the Commanders and the Eagles, but then the Eagles took the lead there. And then all of a sudden, Chicago ties it up. Washington takes the lead, but then Detroit wins it on a last-second field goal, and Washington able to take a touchdown lead and hold on. So with the Bears losing, but also the Eagles losing yesterday, Bears are your 2 seed. We knew the Packers were locked in as that 7 seed. So we get a rematch from later on in the season here too, from these 2 very close games. What do we have in store for the rubber match? Should be a good one. So we'll be previewing this game, of course, all week long leading up to Saturday night's contest. So yesterday's Packers-Vikings game definitely was a very, very boring one, but I really sincerely hope Packers fans understand why the Packers did what they did yesterday and resting a lot of their starters. I hope we all understand, and I hope we can get why they did that. Nothing to really play for and such, and you don't need any unnecessary injuries. Now, we'll see if it actually worked. If you kind of look at maybe, we'll see how the outcome of the Saturday night's game goes and such. If it's a little bit of a slower start, they look rusty, and then we'll probably have that conversation and such afterwards. But still, nonetheless, Packers kind of treating it like a preseason game. And if you remember last year, too, that's when Watson got hurt in that final game, tearing his ACL against the Bears in that final regular season game, too. So maybe the Packers kind of thinking about that, what happened last year, too. But, yeah, pretty dull game, pretty boring game. There's no question about it from yesterday. But I will say this. When you see some backups and you see some other dudes playing, I thought a couple of people really stood out. The rookie Baron Sorrell. I thought that guy had a fantastic game, and some extended play from him yesterday. The rookie, I thought he did really well. I thought he did just a solid job yesterday. We saw Colin Oliver, another rookie. I thought he played very well yesterday. So some of the guys that kind of a little bit on the deep end of the depth chart getting some opportunities yesterday, and I thought they did well. Byron Cox leading the team in pressures. Was it 5 pressures, getting a sack too? So maybe this was Brenton Cox had 5 pressures, including a sack. Colin Oliver only playing 15 pass rushes, had 4 pressures, and then Baron Sorrell 3 pressures, 1 sack, but felt like that guy was all over the place and making some TFLs and some tackles at the line of scrimmage and such. So now I don't think this means that these guys will probably get extended playing time coming up in the playoffs, but hey, I wouldn't be opposed to seeing some of these guys getting on the field a little bit more. But yeah, that's what I want to see in a game like yesterday. When you really don't have anything to play for and you just want your main guys to stay healthy, will some of these guys that may be counted upon for next year, how do they look like? It was pretty much like a preseason game, but how do these guys look? Are they going to capitalize on some of their opportunities? And I thought a few guys did. Jordan Morgan, left tackle, first account, he didn't give up a single pressure. He wasn't credited for a pressure, and he was playing left tackle in that game yesterday. So there was, you kind of, I took it yesterday kind of how I approach preseason games and just looking at certain players and certain individuals and how they performed and such. Obviously, Trayvon Diggs was out there logging some snaps on a very short week with his new team and that. So, but yeah, that's kind of how I approached yesterday's game. So, but again, now we're on to the playoffs. Now we're on to season 2. And like I said, we'll kind of preview this game, this matchup, this Saturday night matchup throughout the whole week, and kind of want to do a little bit of a countdown thing to this because every day I want to highlight what I think, in my opinion, is a big key to victory for the Packers in this playoff game against the Bears. There's a ton of them. There's a lot of them. But I want to highlight and kind of deep dive into one specific key to victory leading up to this contest on Saturday. Also, Packers-Bears, we know about the rivalry. I think the rivalry, especially this year, has, you can say if it's back or it's up the ante a little bit. But, this is just the 3rd time in this long history of this rivalry that these two teams have played against each other in the postseason. So with that being said, there has been some other great matchups that have kind of been like a postseason game or has altered a little bit of their postseason. So I kind of want to do a little bit of a countdown to the top 5 biggest Bears, Packers, playoff end of the regular season games that impacted the postseason and such. So I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a countdown and leading up to what I think, again, is, in my opinion, the biggest, postseason Packers-Bears game or end of the regular season game that was still, something to play for at the regular season that could have altered or impacted the postseason for both those teams. So, but you look at this playoff bracket too, and today is I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. And my I'm not saying, but I'm just saying is I'm not saying every road team is going to win. I'm not saying I'm predicting that, but I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if Monday morning, actually it'd be Tuesday morning because we have a Monday night game, but if Tuesday morning we look back at the wild card round and see that every road team picked up a win. Now, again, I'm not saying that's what I'm picking, but I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. I mean, you've got Rams-Panthers to begin on Saturday. Rams are going to be the favorite. Right now, Packers are a slight favorite over the Bears. That'll probably change. Who knows? One way or the other. Maybe it stays the same. But right now, all things equal, just would it surprise anybody if the Packers went in and got a victory? It wouldn't surprise me. I'm not saying I'm picking that right now at this point in time, but I don't think, if you're a Bears fan too, it probably wouldn't surprise you. Bills, Jaguars, Bills on the road. Jaguars are playing some really good football. And think about this too. I was thinking about this yesterday. The way the Jaguars are playing, they're doing this without Travis Hunter. Okay, they moved up in the draft to get Travis Hunter. And Travis Hunter began the season, but then, IR. That trade just even looks better because the pick they gave up is going to be a later pick now. And the way they're playing, they had a shot to get the 1 seed still yesterday. So what Jacksonville's doing is pretty darn impressive. But Buffalo, we know Buffalo, right? Would it surprise anybody if Buffalo went into Jacksonville and picked up the victory? Wouldn't surprise me. 49ers taking on the Eagles. That's a heck of a matchup. You got the 49ers offense, although Seattle did a really good job of shutting that down on Saturday. But you got San Francisco traveling over to Philadelphia. This one, I mean, I know a lot of people would be like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers went into New England and got a victory. Right now, if you're asking me, I'd pick New England, but it wouldn't completely surprise me if the Chargers, with a solid defense, with a team that's got some postseason experience, goes into New England, one of the more surprising teams of this season, and picked up a victory. Harbaugh, no, it wouldn't. And then Texans Steelers. Last night, Aaron Rodgers, Steelers, getting the victory. Rodgers throwing that go-ahead touchdown with less than a minute. Baltimore's kicker missing it. Missing the game-winning field goal. Steelers getting the division. They host. But the way the Texans defense is playing and the way they've turned around their season, I wouldn't be surprised either. I think you've got some really intriguing matchups on Wild Card Weekend. Really intriguing matchups. I mean, I'm sure the Rams, this is just my thought, but like in terms of NFL fans voting, I think the Rams are probably going to have the most votes, that's like confidence points. They would have the highest confidence points, that's in my opinion. But you kind of factor in, okay, Panthers defense, Rams traveling across the country, early game Saturday. Maybe that helps Carolina in that aspect. But, I mean, you got a very veteran-led team with the Rams going up against, Carolina back in the postseason. So, Rams, I think, would probably get the most confidence votes from a lot of NFL fans out there. But I think we got some really good matchups all across the board for Wild Card Weekend. And I think Wild Card Weekend is going to be, as the kids like to say, lit, if the kids still say that. But lots of football talk here this morning, so we'll get to that. Hoops-wise, Badger basketball over the weekend, falling to Purdue in that highly anticipated matchup. But we'll touch on that a little bit. Bucks picking up a victory as they begin their West Coast trip last night against the Sacramento Kings. Next up for the Bucks is going to be a game against the Warriors on Wednesday. They got the Lakers on Friday and the Nuggets on Sunday. So you got to stretch here for the Bucks at a team that's still outside the top 10 in the Eastern Conference standings. They're a half game out from that 10th spot, and you've got to stretch here. And even after the Nuggets, they're back home taking on the Timberwolves, and then they go to the Spurs. So I mean, this Western Conference portion of their schedule, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Can they get above 500 during this stretch? I don't know, but we'll see as we approach kind of the halfway mark of this NBA season. And we're a month away from the NBA trade deadline too. So we'll throw that in there. We have the VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. You can submit your best and worst from the weekend by hitting us up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912, or by commenting on the YouTube video stream. So, and then we'll do some local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center as well. So now that school's back in session, I'm sure we'll have, as Brandon alluded to on Friday, more of a regular schedule from the high school sort of things. But we had some college stuff going on for the Blue Gold men basketball, opening up WIAC play, dropping their first game of the season. Blue Gold women's basketball, though, continuing their great start to the season, picking up a win against Stevens Point to open up WIAC play. So, all right, let's get things rocking and rolling here this morning, shall we? We got the leadoff coming up here. We'll talk some playoff football as we get set for round 3, the rubber match, Packers-Bears. In their long, storied history, it's just the third time that these teams have matched up when it's come to the postseason. And looking at the 2 regular season games that we saw in December, it's shaping up to be maybe another classic or a close game. Let's break it all down, shall we? All right, we'll take our first break and open up things this morning, chatting some football coming up after these quick words. We know you have a busy schedule, so why not skip the cooking tonight and stop by Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. Their ready-to-eat section is packed with fresh, delicious options from chef-prepared meals and salads to sandwiches, wraps, and hot sides. It's fast, it's convenient, and it's perfect for lunch, dinner, or even a quick snack on the go. Grab exactly what you want when you want it and enjoy a meal that's ready in minutes. Hy-Vee in Eau Claire, fresh, flavorful, and ready to eat. All right. Don't forget, you can also text me your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying for this Monday morning. I already gave you mine. So send me yours by texting it or chiming in on the YouTube video stream. We open up things this morning. We got some playoffs to talk about when it comes to the NFL, as the regular season is officially in the books. The playoff schedule, if you missed it, it begins Saturday, 3:30. The Rams visiting the Panthers. Packers taking on the Bears Saturday night at 7 o'clock. Sunday at noon will be Bills taking on the Jaguars. 3:30, 49ers taking on the Eagles. Sunday nights will be Chargers, Patriots, and then Monday night it will be Texans taking on the Steelers. Looking at this Packers-Bears matchup, it is the third time in this long, storied rivalry that the Packers and the Bears will face each other in the postseason. Obviously, a lot of us right now remember 2010, the NFC Championship game. That's the one that is on probably everybody's mind or remembers the most. The other one, you got to go back to 1941, December 14th, 1941, when the Bears defeated the Packers 33-14 at Wrigley Field. So it was a long stretch between that 2010 NFC Championship game and that 1941 game. The Bears would go on to win the NFL Championship that year. So, but add it more to this historic rivalry, and especially given how this season has gone between these two teams, it's sure shaping up to be maybe kind of a spicy matchup. And I'll be honest with you, okay? So I know last week I said, I don't want to get into the whole, I'd rather play this team. You play who you play, and I'm still that mindset. You play who you play. I don't want to get caught up in that. But I got to admit, yesterday, I started to teeter towards one side. And I know it's careful what you wish for, but I fell into it. I'll admit it. I fell into it. I if I had to pick one that I'd rather have the Packers play, it was probably the Bears. And I hate playing division teams in the postseason. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Because as the fan side of it all, I don't want to have to deal with a loss against a division team in the postseason. I don't want to. But it kind of went a little bit towards that way. I was like, okay, I think I'd rather play the Bears. And I still hate saying that. I still hate having that phrase come out of my mouth. Like, I hate saying I'd rather play so-and-so, because it is kind of careful what you wish for, okay? But from a matchup standpoint, I just feel like Green Bay matches up a little bit better going up against Chicago than maybe what they would have going up against Philadelphia on the road and Philly. Just a little bit. And I was looking at some of the numbers, and I know Green Bay and Philly, I mean, they're very similar in a lot of statistical categories and such. But I don't know. It's just maybe I've got like Derrick Henry, flashbacks and such. I'm like, I don't want Saquon all of a sudden to do that against Green Bay or something like that. But I know it's careful what you wish for, and I really don't want to, a week from today on Monday, have to talk about the Bears ending the Packers season. But I got to admit it. I got to get off my chest after last week saying I'm not going to get into that. I kind of got into that yesterday. And this is what we got. I mean, I was watching both games on the TVs yesterday. I had 2 TVs up and was watching them, kind of keeping tabs on everything. And here we go. This is what we got. Round 3. And you know it's going to be talked about all week long, this matchup. The coaches, the players, they're going to be ask questions about it. Obviously, you got the little bit of here we go. I mean, Ben Johnson, the whole introductory press conference beating Matt LaFleur. No, first year he's got a playoff game. It's a huge game. It's not just because it's the playoffs, but I mean, kind of, where the Bears want to be, the high expectations of Green Bay and such. I mean, this is a little bit more of a big, high magnitude game, even though it is the postseason. And you look at this matchup, and I think, just in my opinion, kind of what we've seen from the first 2 matchups in the regular season, I think we're set up for another classic, for another doozy of a game. And I want to kind of take this week to really dive into one, and there's going to be a ton of them, but just in my opinion, the top 5 keys to victory, biggest keys to victory for the Packers over the Bears. And I want to kind of take one per day and kind of do a little bit of a deep dive on these. And I think the one that I want to lead off with is, for the Packers, a key to victory for the Packers in this game, you got to score touchdowns in this thing. And when you get into the red zone, you got to be able to come away with touchdowns. We saw it not only in just those Packers Bears matchups, but look at like yesterday's game with the Lions and the Bears. The Lions controlled that game. The Lions controlled that thing, but they were settling for field goals. They couldn't punch it in. The red zone defense of the Chicago Bears, keeping them out, keeping their team still into that game, keeping them in for that offense to finally kind of get that momentum, kind of check in and tie it up. If the Lions would have had 1 or 2 more touchdowns, game would have been over with. And you can kind of look at Packers, Bears in their 2 regular season games, especially that last one at Soldier Field, right? Whether it was settling for a field goal or fumbling it at the 1, you get into the red zone, you have got to come away with touchdowns. That, to me, is one of the biggest keys to victory for this Packers team going up against Chicago. We know Chicago's defense is kind of a bend, don't break. The popular phrase, bend, don't break. They'll give up yards, but when it comes to the red zone, they're going to keep you out and force you to field goals. Well, Green Bay has to figure out their red zone, and they have to be able to punch it in for touchdowns. And right now, when you look at the trend, and I know yesterday's game is kind of makes it look a little bit worse, but I mean the last 3 in terms of red zone percentages in scoring touchdowns only, 12.5% for Green Bay. On the season, 57.63, middle of the pack. Slightly down from last year. To put it in perspective, the number 1 team in the National Football League in terms of red zone offense and where they come away with touchdowns is Philadelphia at over 70%. So 70% of the time they hit the red zone, they come away with touchdowns. Green Bay has has to get in that end zone and not settle for field goal attempts. I mean, that to me is going to be such a huge factor in determining this. If you have an opportunity to jump out to a big league, to jump out and put up a couple touchdowns and a few touchdowns, to where they're just not hanging around, to where Chicago's just not hanging around and able, I mean, they call it cardiac Caleb. I mean, we know that the Packers, we know the Bears, they're very good at making those late runs. They're used to it by now. This is a team that, if they're down by a couple scores heading into the fourth quarter, they're not going to be deterred. They're not going to be intimidated. They've been down this path before. So that's why I feel like it is super important for when this Packers offense gets into the red zone, gets inside the 20. Please come away with touchdowns. Please score, get in the end zone and score, and not have to settle for field goals. Don't turn the ball over in the 20. If you're going to go for it on fourth within the red zone, you've got to be super confident that you're going to pick that up. This is, honestly, I almost feel like LaFleur might have to be ultra aggressive in some of the play calling. Fourth and third, you may have to go for it. Fourth and 2. This is not going to be a game where I don't think you can be conservative on the offensive side, on the offensive play calling. I don't think you can be passive. You might have to be a little bit more aggressive. And it might bite you in the butt, but it also might reward you. But you got the going back to the main part in this whole thing, you have got to be able to score touchdowns in the red zone and not settling for field goals. You look at yesterday's game, you look at the two games between the Packers and the Bears already this season. It just tells you right there. You have to come away with touchdowns. And it's not going to be easy going up against this Bears defense when it comes to the red zone too. Because they are one of the better defenses in the entire league in red zone defense. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll have more breaking down this matchup, though, between Packers-Bears wildcard weekend Saturday nights. We'll be back after these quick words. When your vehicle needs service, you want a shop that you can trust, and that's AJM Automotive in Eau Claire. From routine maintenance to more involved repairs, AJM Automotive delivers honest work, clear communication, and quality service that you can count on. Their experienced technicians take the time to explain what your vehicle needs so that there are no surprises, just reliable results. Whether it's brakes, tires, diagnostics, or general auto repair, AJM Automotive keeps you safely on the road and back behind the wheel with confidence. For dependable auto care done right, choose AJM Automotive in Eau Claire, where your vehicle is treated like it matters. And don't forget, AJM Automotive also provides snow plowing services and with some slippery roads because, well, last night we had some freezing rain, so if you haven't stepped outside yet, might be a little bit slick in some spots. If you do need that tow, they also offer that too. So put this number in your cell phone, all right? 715-835-9523. Again, that number, 715-835-9523. So with this Packers-Bears matchup that we're going to be previewing all week long for the postseason, you know, not only did I want to kind of deep dive into one key to victory for the Pack leading into this game, I also kind of wanted to highlight what I think, in my opinion, are five of the biggest, and there's been a lot of them, but five of the more memorable or biggest Packers-Bears matchups late in the season, postseason, because these two teams have only met twice. This will be the third time, but they've only met twice in the postseason. So we don't have a whole lot of, out of the 200-plus matchups, games that these two teams have played, you're only talking about two playoff or postseason games. So obviously there's been a lot of really memorable regular season games. I mean, you could go to 2018 week one, Rodgers, leaves the game, comes back, leads them to that come from behind. You've got, obviously a lot of Favre ones and such. But I kind of wanted to focus on games that late in the season or had playoff implications, and kind of highlight some of those games. So kind of looking at December late in the season, right? So with that, there's been a lot of good honorable mentions we could throw in there if you expand it to the regular season. And again, this is just the list based off of my opinion, okay? My opinion here. But I got to go to number 5, the game that we saw just a few weeks ago. I mean, you can make the case that game was for the NFC North, maybe a 2 seed. So again, we're talking about games that affected playoff standings or whether teams made the playoffs, division champs, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you look at that game that we just saw a couple weeks ago in Chicago. I mean, you could point to that one saying that one determines, obviously who's the NFC North champs and maybe even a 2 seed. Because the Bears right now are the 2 seed in the NFC. And that was the game Jordan Love leaves because of the concussion. Malik Willis played incredibly well. It looked like the Packers were going to come away with that victory. Don't want to rehash, some bad memories for Packers fans in that game. But, I mean, Romeo Doubs, if he recovers the onside kick, game's probably over. Packers probably win that game. But we all know what happened. It's still fresh in our mind. Chicago gets the onside kick. They're able to tie it up with a fourth down touchdown pass, overtime. Packers not able to do anything in their drive. They get the ball first. Chicago, walk-off touchdown. You look what happened after that game. Green Bay gets dominated by the Ravens. And obviously yesterday with nothing to play for against Minnesota, they lose that game too. But after that game, Bears also fall to the 49ers, and they fall yesterday to the Detroit Lions. So, yeah, that game, I know it's a little bit of a recency pick, but you look at it and the magnitude that it had in determining maybe a team going from a potential 2 seed to a 7 seed, a division championship, hosting a playoff game, to having to make a run on the road. Honorable mention, even because it was a December game too, you could go to the Packers-Bears game at Lambeau Field. But I look at this one, that it definitely had a major impact for the rest of the regular season and setting up the postseason between these two teams. There's no question about it. And we'll see maybe if that makes the difference, if Green Bay is able to get a victory or not. We'll see if that game made the difference for coming up on Saturday night, that home field advantage. Will it help out Chicago? Will it deter Green Bay at all? I mean, that's the one thing I guess Jordan Love has going for him as a playoff quarterback, is that he's made all of his starts on the road, so he's kind of used to it. Dallas, San Francisco, Philly last year, now Chicago, so kind of used to it at this point. Still would like that at Lambeau, but man. All right, so tomorrow, though, we'll highlight another one. And I'll just give you a little bit of a tease. It's another late December or a late in the year game that affected some postseason standings between these two teams. All right, we got to take our final break. And we'll wrap up the first hour already on this Monday morning. Stick around. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. If you're serious about great meats, you need to know about Mike's Star Market in Eau Claire. From hand-cut steaks and fresh ground beef to flavorful brats, sausages, premium pork, Mike's Star Market is known for quality that you can see and taste. Everything is prepared with care using trusted sources and time-tested methods that keep customers coming back. Whether you're firing up the grill, planning a family dinner, or stocking up for the weekend, Mike's Star Market has the cuts and flavors you're looking for. It's quality, it's tradition, it's local. Mike's Star Market, proudly serving the Chippewa Valley. All right, we just got a few minutes left. So send me your I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Best ones I'll read on the air. So send those on over via the Shoe Doctors bullpen line with a quick text at 715-830-1912. You can also hit me up with a comment on the YouTube video stream. So we'll get to some of those. Again, best ones I'll read on the air. So we'll get to some of those coming up a little bit later on. We'll talk some hoops coming up next hour as well, with the Bucks picking up a victory last night against the Sacramento Kings as they begin their West Coast trip in a big portion of their schedule coming up as we approach the halfway mark of this Milwaukee Bucks season. You take a look at the things where things are currently at for the Bucks in the standings. They're still on the outside looking in of a potential playoff spot. Still plenty of games to make up. There's no question about it, but they're still half game out from that 10 spot that is currently held by the Atlanta Hawks. Milwaukee 16-20 on the season. Riding a 2-game winning streak right now, just squeaking out a victory against the Hornets the other night, thanks to that little give and go, for a little pick and go to Giannis to get the game-winning dunk at the end, and then taking down the Kings yesterday. But you look at this upcoming schedule now for the Bucks here. Whew, you got Warriors on Wednesday. You've got Lakers on Friday. Denver on Sunday. You come home to take on the Timberwolves next Tuesday, and then next Thursday, you're at San Antonio. And then you throw in Atlanta, the team that is right above you, and then you get Oklahoma City and Denver again. So you talk about a tough portion of a schedule for the Bucks. You can't get much tougher than what they got in front of them here. And I think this is going to be kind of maybe a telling stretch here for the Bucks leading up to the trade deadline next month. What do they do? If they could somehow come away with a winning record in this upcoming, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games, maybe you come away with man, if you could get 6-2 somehow, but maybe bare minimum 5-3, maybe that kind of okay, get back in this thing. But if they go 2-6, and they just dig themselves into a deeper hole, how does this affect what they're gonna do at the trade deadline and such? And obviously the big question mark out there, future with one Giannis. But there's no question it is a tough portion of schedule coming up here for the Bucks, and it starts Wednesday, going up against the Warriors. So we'll talk more hoops coming up in the next hour. Also, send me your VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. What was the best? What was the highlight? What was the low light? What was the worst? Send those on over as well. One in. We got a couple more to go. 3 more to go to be exact. We got plenty more football talk as well as we get set for the playoffs and this Packers-Bears matchup coming up on Saturday. News updates. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Second hour kicking off right now on this Monday morning of January 5th. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Maybe you're off to work for the first time in the new year, getting back into the regular swing of things, whatever the case may be. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. It's also a good reminder, too. I know we had some freezing rain yesterday. And it was a little bit slippery on the stairs this morning. I will say it was a little slippery, but it sounds like we're going to get some more of that freezing rain tonight. So maybe just a good idea to always stay tuned to our website, sportstalk1051.com, for the latest school closings and delays. The WEAU 13 News First Alert school closings that are brought to you by Hovland's and ServiceMaster. So might be just throwing it out there as the kiddos are going to be back at school starting today. Might want to pay attention to that tomorrow. Again, just in case. So throwing that out there as a reminder. But we'll get back to some football talk here as we get set for this Packers-Bears playoff game. Packers visiting the Bears Saturday night, 7 p.m. is the game time. So put it on your calendars, put it on your schedules. If you don't have Amazon Prime, well, you're either going to have to sign up for it. If you've never signed up for it, I think you could get a free trial. Just make sure you maybe cancel it after that or go somewhere that has it. But that's where it's at. So don't get mad at the messenger over here. All right, don't get mad at the messenger here. I'm just telling you it's on Amazon Prime. So, but we'll get back to some more football talk as we take a look at that, but the rest of the NFL playoff picture, because it is a Monday morning and it is a I'm not saying, but I'm just saying Monday. And my I'm not saying, but I'm just saying is I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying I'm picking it to happen, but I'm just saying I would not be completely surprised if every road team gets a W on the first weekend. Just because I look at the matchups. And again, I'm not saying that's what I'm picking. And I'm not saying that's what I think is going to happen. But I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if come next Tuesday, because we have a Monday night game, that we look at like, oh man, all the road teams got W's? Rams, Panthers? I can see the Rams winning. Packers, Bears? I can see the Packers winning. Bills in Jacksonville? I can see Buffalo winning. 49ers, Eagles? I can see the 49ers winning. Chargers, Patriots would be, that'd be a tough one. But I wouldn't be completely surprised if the Chargers came away with a victory. And then Texans and Steelers. I wouldn't be surprised if Texans either. So we'll get to obviously the official picks at the end of the week in that, but that's my I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. So what else do you got? Hit me up with a text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line with your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Best ones I will read on the air. Otherwise, you can hit me up on the YouTube video stream with your picks too. It is also a VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. Hit me up with your picks. My best, again, we let off the program, giving them their shout-outs. I got to go River Falls football, capturing the national championship. Stag Bowl champions, taking down a perennial powerhouse in North Central. River Falls got into a 14-3 hole. Defense locked it down. That high-power offense from River Falls, they're never out of a game with that type of offense. Able to get back into a 24-14 victory for UW River Falls. And think about the turnaround of that program. Just a few years ago? Now winning a game or barely winning a WIAC game, and now you got national championship. That's a fantastic story. And a big-time shout-out to our friends just to the west of us here in Eau Claire. So a major congrats to capturing your national championship, the UW River Falls football team last night at the Stag Bowl. So that's the best. That's my pick for best of the weekend. Worst of the weekend, only one has happened, but there's probably going to be a couple more. And I got to go with the worst. You're going to get coaches losing jobs. And obviously the coaches, the head coach is the one that gets, the attention of losing their jobs. But it's the assistants too. A lot of those assistants are going to be losing their jobs, moving their families. And I know a lot of them get paid a decent amount of money, but it's the families too. You're talking about maybe some younger kids up moving and such and whatever. Say what you want. Yep, it's a lot of money, and it's the profession they chose. Still, it stinks. I don't care at what level you are at. It stinks to lose your job. It sucks. Okay? It sucks regardless. So that's my pick for the worst, because today is kind of that termed Black Monday in the NFL. And we got one yesterday already. Raheem Morris, the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, after 2 years getting let go. They have also let go of their general manager. I will say this, though, too. If Jeff Hafley does get a head coaching job, whether it's Giants, Titans, two teams that he has been mentioned at, I don't know if Atlanta would have an interest in him or if Atlanta would like to go offensive mind with a coach here. But if Jeff Hafley leaves, I wouldn't be surprised if Raheem Morris is an option to replace him in Green Bay. Just throwing that name out there. Because him and Matt LaFleur have a friendship. They were on that Washington staff. That Washington staff were under Shanahan. You had Kyle, you had Sean McVay, you had Matt LaFleur, and Raheem Morris was a part of that staff too. They have a friendship. They have a relationship. So if Hafley is going to get a head coaching job, and if Matt LaFleur decides to not promote from within, Raheem Morris could be a name to kind of keep an eye out. So just throwing that out there. Kind of just keep that in the back of your mind. And, going back to, there's not a whole lot to, how do I want to put this politely? There's not really a whole lot of positives to go back to yesterday's game between the Packers and Vikings. Okay, there's not really a whole lot to break down from that game. But I will say this. Couple things here. I do got to give a tip of the cap, because when you get into game, it was essentially a preseason game for the Packers. Let's not kid ourselves. This was a glorified preseason game. But in these instances, when you are resting your starters and asking your backups, second and third stringers to play this game, get through this game, you are sending the message that this game doesn't matter. I want to see these backups, these second stringers, these third stringers take the game seriously and take this opportunity seriously. And I thought there were a few players that really kind of jumped out and did exactly what they were supposed to do, taking advantage of their opportunities and putting some good stuff out on tape. And I look at it from a defensive standpoint. And there was a few individuals that I thought did a really good job yesterday. Barron Sorrell, the rookie from Texas. Now, remember, this was the guy that when he was drafted already was like kind of a fan favorite. He was in Green Bay. He was a fourth-round pick. He was a day 3 pick. And he was that guy when, like, they announced the pick, and he was there, and he went up on stage, and then you had, like, Goody and the Packers, front office. They're like, he's in Green Bay? Like, it was kind of that's Barron Sorrell from Texas. And if you were watching the game yesterday, number 99, he was on a lot of plays. He was in on a lot of plays. And that's what I want to see from younger guys, rookies with extended amount of time. The team is obviously saying this game does not matter. We just want to be healthy. But I want to see these younger guys. I want to see these bottom depth chart guys say, but it matters to me. It matters to my growth. It matters to my career. I want to show you that I can be a part of this team, that I can be a contributor to this team, that I deserve more opportunities. I thought Sorrell did that. I thought Brenton Cox Jr. went out and had himself a nice game too. Led the team in pressures, 5, had a sack. And this was the first opportunity to see another rookie yesterday. And this was a guy that missed all offseason. Training camp and that. Apparently he had such a bad hamstring injury, it tore off his bone. Colin Oliver. First game. Just was activated a few weeks ago. He only played 15 pass rushing snaps, but he had four reps. Or 4 pressures, excuse me. This is a guy that his teammates were coining him, like mini Micah or young Micah. And you had Micah Parsons yesterday, too, on social media, on Twitter, go out there and tweet, I'm excited to watch Barron and CO today with these opportunities. Those 2 guys that we just talked about. And I thought those were guys that went out and took advantage of those opportunities. Jordan Morgan getting some reps at left tackle. Packers getting a sense of, is this going to be our future left tackle? Just getting a little bit of a sample size. From Next Gen Stats, Jordan Morgan was not charged with a pressure. I'd like to see if that's confirmed in all that, because I know Turner had a couple sacks and such, but was that more on the quarterback, broken play in that? But, Jordan Morgan, looking at guys like that, it's like, okay, if this is going to be our future left tackle, go out there and prove it. Go out there and showcase it. Jacob Monk, I thought performed well at center. Looked maybe a little bit more comfortable at center than maybe like a Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan's played well, but Jacob Monk, more of a natural center. That's what I wanted to see in games like this. Guys taking advantage of opportunities and showcasing, hey, maybe not for the postseason here, but remember me for next year. And if my number is called in the postseason, I'm ready. And overall, coming off of that game against the Ravens defensively, going up against a Vikings team that, on the offensive side, had a lot of their starters still. JJ was in there trying to get his 1,000. McCarthy was in there for a little bit before re-aggravating his hand injury and that. I thought the Packers defense, for playing a lot of second, third on the depth chart guys, played their butts off. I thought they played their butts off. And it was closer. This game was a lot closer than what it probably should have been, in my opinion. I don't think it's that far out of, if Packers starters were playing, like on the offensive side of things, Green Bay probably wins that one. So I think what Jeff Hafley did yesterday, with a lot of backups, the game that he called, is probably going to improve his resume for some of these teams that are thinking about hiring Jeff Hafley or bringing him in for an interview. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll switch gears and chat a little hoops before we get back to some more football talk, but continue to send me your best and worst from the weekend, your VFW Post 305 best and worst, and also your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. We'll take a quick break and be back in just a few minutes. When it's time to update the floors in your home, skip the big box stores and go local. Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire has been helping families from across the Chippewa Valley find the perfect flooring for decades. From soft, comfortable carpet to luxury vinyl planks, laminate tile, Carpet City has options for every room, every style, and every budget. And you won't be rushed or pushed into something that you do not need. Their experienced team takes time to listen, answer questions, and help you choose flooring that actually fits your lifestyle. Carpet City Flooring Center also offers professional installation from people who take pride in their work. That means your floors are done right the first time. No gimmicks, no pressure, just quality products, honest pricing, and friendly local service that you can trust. So whether you're updating one room or planning a full home remodel, start with the name that Eau Claire has relied on for years. That's Carpet City Flooring Center. Locally owned, locally trusted. We will do a local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center coming up just shortly past 9 with our good friend Justice Cleveland, WEAU 13 News sports director. So before all that, and before we get back to some more some football chat, as we are now getting set for the NFL playoffs, Badgers opened up. Well, they did have a couple of Big Ten games and such, but now the full-on Big Ten portion of their schedule began over the weekend, taking on Purdue. And Purdue, number 5, getting the best out of the Badgers, 89-73 victory for Purdue. And you look at this game, and every single starter for Purdue in double-figure scoring, led by Fletcher Lawyer, who had 20 points for the Boilermakers, 4 of 10 from 3. But Wisconsin-wise, Winter was able to get a double-double, 18 points and 10 boards. Nick Boyd did his part, 24 points. But John Blackwell going through a little bit of a rough stretch, and Matt Painter, head coach for Purdue, acknowledged that after the game too. I thought he had a really interesting quote or a good quote after the game too. It said, "It's not really who you play; it's when you play them," and kind of noting, hey, Blackwell struggled a little bit, and you look at his last couple of games, just 8 points going up against Milwaukee in 28 minutes of action, and just 9 points against Purdue. Before that, he had 14 against Villanova, but then just 7 against Nebraska. So I thought it was a really good point by Matt Painter that it's who you go up against, at that time. And right now you could say that Blackwell's probably going through a little bit of a rough stretch. 0 for 5 from 3. Wisconsin shot just 16%. They only made 4 3-pointers in the entire game against Purdue. And as we know, Wisconsin, so far this year, sure seems like they are going to live and die by the 3 in a lot of instances. And, well, if that's your style, you got to be on more times than not, and they were not on against Purdue. 16%. Yikes. Not good. Not good. So, and things aren't going to get much easier for Wisconsin going forward here. We know this conference is tough, and they're going to get some big-time competition. I mean, Nebraska is off to a great start. Michigan, Purdue, Michigan State, all those teams. And we're going to see Wisconsin versus Michigan. I mean, if you were watching, depending on which football game you were watching yesterday, you probably saw a lot of the promos for Wisconsin and Michigan coming up here. But before that, they've got UCLA tomorrow. And you look at UCLA so far this year, too. They're 10-4 overall, 2-1 in conference play. And we'll break this down more with RJ tomorrow on that. But, it's going to be another tough test for this Badger basketball team. And right now, I think if you look at Wisconsin, even if you haven't been watching any of these games, but you just kind of been maybe follow along with some of the highlights and some of the recaps and such, it's like, well, maybe Wisconsin, they can beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, but when they go up against tougher competition, that's when they fall a little bit short because their losses have come to BYU, to TCU, to Nebraska, to Villanova, and now to Purdue. Villanova is 12-2 on the season, second in the Big East, only behind UConn. 3-0 in conference play for the Big East, though. TCU, because, we know Nebraska, how good they are so far. We know BYU, how good they are. We know Purdue, obviously, how good they are. TCU so far this year, 11-3, first in conference. Granted, just 1-0, but still. They gave Michigan all they could handle earlier on. They defeated Florida right before going up against Wisconsin. They did fall to Notre Dame, they got Baylor, Kansas, Arizona, BYU coming up, so that's going to be a tough stretch here for TCU. But Wisconsin's losses have come against quality teams. If Wisconsin is going to be one of those quality teams, they're going to have to add some more signature wins, and they're going to have to beat some of those quality teams. And they're going to have plenty of opportunities when they get into when they get more going up against all these conference teams in the Big Ten, because the Big Ten's got a lot of really good quality teams in this thing. So they're going to have opportunities. I just think the big question now is Wisconsin one of those? Can they join that group of quality teams within their conference? Because if you look at kind of the updated rankings right now, coaches poll, or let's just do the AP poll here. So, Arizona's 1, Michigan's 2, Purdue's 5, Michigan State's 9, Nebraska's 13. This is the latest AP poll. It's going to be updated here soon. You throw in Illinois, another Big Ten team, ranked 20th. Iowa cracked the top 25. They're at 25. Cal, others receiving votes. They got 19. UCLA got 13. Indiana's got 4. You're talking about a lot. Top 30, top 35 teams in the country, a lot of them are in that conference. So if Wisconsin wants to be one of those teams, they're going to have to beat some of these quality teams and really showcase that they belong. And I think they've got the talent to do it. I really do. I feel like they've got the talent to do it. They just got to get a couple of these and get that confidence and showcase that they can do it. Next up, again, will be UCLA tomorrow. So, all right, let's take a quick break. Let's talk some Bucks as well. Bucks, big stretch of games coming up here for Milwaukee. Could this be a season-defining stretch for the Bucks? Looking for quality used auto parts? ASAP Used Auto Parts and Conrad's Salvage have you covered. From engines and transmissions to tires, batteries, and more, they have the parts you need. And if it's an oil change you need, their team can get it done fast and right. Friendly, knowledgeable staff make it simple so that you can get back on the road quickly. From salvage to service, one name you can trust. That's ASAP Used Auto Parts and Conrad's Salvage. Bucks back at it tomorrow, Wednesday, not tomorrow, Wednesday. But they did pick up the win yesterday, last night against the Sacramento Kings as they begin their West Coast stretch here. And we kind of touched on it a little bit earlier on in the program, but you look at this upcoming portion of the schedule for the Bucks, and it's, in one word, brutal. For a team that is still on the outside of the playoff chase, looking to get back in. They're a half game behind the Hawks for the 10th spot in the Eastern Conference. Giannis is obviously back. Obviously, we're seeing them rack up some wins, but not enough right now to get back into that top 10. And things are not going to get any easier for this Bucks team. They've got the Warriors coming up on Wednesday night. Friday night's the Lakers. Nuggets on Sunday. These are all on the road. They return home where they will welcome the Minnesota Timberwolves. Then they hit the road again for the Spurs. Then they hit the road to take on Atlanta, the team that's just above them right now in the postseason, or in the standings. And then they go back home, but they take on the Thunder and the Nuggets. That's all the way up until the 23rd of January. That stretch from January, well, when they begin this with the Warriors, it'll be from the 7th to the 23rd. Warriors, Lakers, Nuggets twice, Timberwolves, Spurs, Thunder, Hawks. You're talking about all playoff teams right now. To me, as we approach kind of the halfway mark, we're getting close to it, the conclusion of the second quarter, this is potentially a season-defining stretch for this Bucks team as the trade deadline is approaching next month too. So with those, was it 8 games? 5-3, 6-2 ideally, but it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be really tough. If they could somehow go 6-2, I'm feeling like, okay, you get some of that confidence back. You get a little bit of momentum. But if you go like 2-6, how does that change the approach that the Bucks would have heading into the trade deadline then? You know, I think a lot of it's going to depend on where they're at in the standings, how the other teams still are around them. I mean, if they're still in the top 10 in that, then maybe it doesn't change a whole lot. But, I mean, if you drop down to a few spots and then all of a sudden you're a few games behind, yeah, one has to wonder, are there going to be conversations going to be had, going to be made? What do they do? Are they still going to try to be aggressive at the trade deadline? Are they still going to try to acquire somebody to pair up with Giannis? Because you know what else is going to happen. You know, if they, let's say during this big stretch of games, they go like 2-6 or whatever it is. It's going to get louder. The talk is going to get louder out there. Do they keep Giannis? Will he be a part of this team? Is he going to be on the trading block before the trade deadline? That talk's going to be out there more and more. If this Bucks team in this tough stretch of games comes away with a really bad losing record, but they could change that narrative too. They could go on this stretch, rack up a bunch of wins against some really good teams, some quality opponents, gain some of that confidence, and maybe that'll tell the front office and that ownership group to say, hey, all right, we picked up some big wins. We picked up some nice wins. We got a little momentum going here. Let's maybe try to be a little bit more aggressive or maybe push the needle here and maybe make a couple trades to surround Giannis. I think this is, to kind of make it full circle here again, such a big season-defining stretch for Milwaukee. If they come away with this thing and somehow get back to above 500, but they stacked some really good wins against some very good teams, all right, maybe they make some moves. Maybe they be a little aggressive at the trade deadline. if they come out of this thing flat, nothing, really to show for, I think there's going to be conversations had. So I think this is a big, big stretch of games coming up here for the Bucs. And it begins Wednesday against the Warriors on the road. Just to kind of give a little bit of a glimpse of where these teams are at in terms of the standings and such. So Warriors right now are the 8th seed in the Western Conference. They're 19-17 overall. Lakers are the 3 seed in the Western, 22-11. Denver's the 4 seed, 23-12. So we know the Bucs face them twice in this stretch of games. You've got the Timberwolves, who are the 6th seed, 23-13, 10 games above 500. You throw the Spurs in there, who are the second best team in the West, 25-10. They play the Thunder. They're the best team in the West, 30-6. You throw Atlanta in there, the 1 Eastern Conference team. As we mentioned, they're the team that's a half game ahead of the Bucs right now in standings, holding on to that final 10th and final playoff spot at this moment. And even if you go back, Hornets, they were just able to squeak by that victory. After coming off of a bad loss to the Wizards last Wednesday, they go up against the Hornets on Friday night and get a 1-point victory thanks to Giannis's dunk with just a couple seconds left. They're able to rebound and get that victory against the Kings, but they're even struggling against teams that they should be beating, making them a little bit closer than what they need to be. So I get it why there's probably a lot of fans, the majority of fans saying Bucs have no shot during this stretch of games. If they're struggling to beat some of the teams that they should easily be able to handle, that they should easily be able to beat, why should I have any confidence that they're going to go out there and have a winning record on this stretch of games, on this West Coast trip? I hear you. I get it. I don't think I have a lot of that confidence either. Maybe you get a victory against the Warriors. Lakers are going to be really tough. Nuggets are going to be very tough. Timberwolves have beaten you already. That's going to be a tough game. Spurs are going to be really tough. And then, of course, the Thunder. It is going to be tough to have like a 6-2 record in this stretch. But I'll tell you what, if they come away with like 6-2 and they pick up wins against the Lakers, Nuggets, Spurs, Thunder, T-Wolves, be like, okay, you're drawing me in a little bit more now. You're getting me a little bit more on that bandwagon. You're getting me a little bit more. I'm ready to be disappointed. Kind of like, the Brewers a little bit. It's like, come on now. So go do it. Go showcase that you can be a playoff team. Go showcase that you can be a team that is starting to maybe figure things out a little bit. I get it, and I'm probably with a lot of people right now. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in it. I'm ready to be proven wrong, though, and I hope I'm proven wrong. And I think a lot of Bucs fans are ready to be proven wrong at this point. All right, let's take a quick break as we start to wrap up the second hour and get to overtime here. So we'll do that before we get back to some more football playoff talk and such. We'll be back after these quick words. We got about 7 minutes, six minutes to the top of the hour before we begin the third quarter, approaching halftime here. Reminder, coming up at 9 o'clock, we'll do our local sports roundup, brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. So, and we'll talk some more about UW River Falls football capturing the national championship last night at the Stag Bowl. So we'll hit that up. Plus, we've got some Blue Gold and other Blue Gold stuff, Stout stuff. High school, we'll kick back up a little bit more, as Brandon alluded to on Friday and such. But we'll bring it all down with the expert at hand, Mr. Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire from Sports Scene 13, WEAU 13 News. Somebody had sent me this, say, do you think this is another shot at the Packers from Ben Johnson? So this was Bears head coach Ben Johnson yesterday after the game. Just a quick little comment here. Let's see if I can get it to play up. Why isn't it playing up? Let's try this again.
Quickly turning the page here. Everyone's disappointed. I appreciate, like I said, their effort. Some teams, they rest their starters. We don't. We play football, and and we felt like it was really important that we were playing our best ball here today, and we didn't get that job done.
Some teams rest their starters. We don't. We play football. Who rested their starters yesterday? That would be the one Green Bay Packers. Philadelphia also rested their starters too. So I don't know if that was a shot. Maybe it was. I don't know. But if it is, I don't know what Ben Johnson has right now. I mean, this animosity towards Matt LaFleur. Maybe he's just really playing it up with the Packers and Bears rivalry. But if that was a subtle little knock or shot or whatever it is to Green Bay, okay, whatever, it's fine. You played your starters yesterday and you still lost. So, I mean, what does that say? You still lost. So, but I don't care. It is what it is. So let's just settle it on the field on Saturday night. Okay? Let's just settle it. But it adds a little bit more to the rivalry. I mean, it started off with Ben Johnson and his introductory presser in the offseason. Really enjoyed beating Matt LaFleur 2 times a year. That first game, the icy handshake after the end, Green Bay gets the win. Chicago gets the win a couple weeks ago. Walk-off touchdown, and here we go. We got the rubber match. The NFL script writers, the Hollywood writers, can't write any better. We get round 3. And it's going to be a doozy. It's going to be a physical one. It's probably going to be an emotional one. It's going to be testy. I think, another thing to watch is, all right, the team that maybe handles the emotions a little bit better, going to go a big way in determining who the winner's going to be. But I don't think there's any question, too, that, some of these comments, whether it's from the Bears or whether it's from the Packers side of things, it adds a little bit more fire to the rivalry. It adds a little bit more juice. It adds a little bit more gasoline. Right? I mean, it does. And that's what you want in rivalries. As much as it kind of, frustrates us or annoys us, especially when our team loses to our arch rival, because that just adds a little bit more to it, and then you just really don't want to lose. It's one thing when, maybe one team's just way better than the other and they just kind of own them for a long time. But when you've got 2 teams that are, very solid, very equal, very good, and you add a little bit of this back and forth, it gets the fans juiced up. It angers them a little bit, lights that fire in their bellies a little bit more. And then when you lose, it probably hurts a little bit more. But when you win, yeah, it probably feels just a little bit better too. And now you got to add in a little bit of a playoff element to it. Oh, man. The trash talking that's going to be going on leading up to this game and the trash talking from one side after the game is going to go on for a while. And whether you are a fan of the Packers, whether you are a fan of the Bears, you are probably hoping and praying that you're going to be the one that's going to be on the side that's victorious. So you don't have to deal with the trash talk from the other side. This is exactly why I hate playing division teams in the postseason, because I don't want to have to deal with that possibility. Hate it. It's awesome, though, when you win, but the losing side of it just stinks, because then you got to hear it, right? You'll have to hear it. But that's one of the beauty things about sports. With the awesome stuff, with the great stuff, with that great feeling, you got to take disappointment and you got to take hurt with it. You got to ride the wave of emotions, man. The ups and downs. Can't all be good. You got to take some of that pain with you, too. And then when you can overcome that pain and you have a little bit of a victorious feeling to it, man, it feels good. Oh. But with that glory, there's also a lot of pain, too. Let's talk some more playoff football as we get set for this matchup on Saturday nights. We got to take a little halftime break, though. So coming up after these news updates, we'll get back to some more football talk in just a couple minutes. Third hour, kick it off right now on this Monday morning of January 5th. We appreciate you making us a part of your start. Maybe it's the first day back to a normal schedule for you all to begin the year of 2026. Just a few minutes ago, another coach has been let go in the NFL. Kevin Stefanski, the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, has been relieved. Or maybe relieved. I don't know. Relief? Yeah, whatever. There's bad joke. I tried to make a bad joke there. But Kevin Stefanski fired. Cleveland Browns will be looking for a new head coach. He's probably going to get a lot of looks elsewhere as a future head coach, whether it's the Giants, whether it's the Titans. Pro Football Talk yesterday had a blog post. It wasn't necessarily about sources. Sounds like it was more of an opinion piece that if the Packers decided to move on from Matt LaFleur, that maybe Kevin Stefanski would be a good replacement for Matt LaFleur over in Green Bay. I still don't see, unless something really bad happens on Saturday night, I don't see it happen. I don't see it happening that Matt LaFleur is going to be let go. I don't. And I know Ed Policy, he did his Policy's Perspective, where he answers some fan questions and kind of does a little bit of a write-up off their website. And I read it trying to see if there was any kind of like hints about what the future is going to be like for Goody and Matt LaFleur and such. And there really wasn't a whole lot, but there was maybe a couple lines that some people are kind of looking at to kind of maybe get the impression of where he's thinking. And I'll just read a little bit here. He says, it is hard to believe that it's 2026 and the end of the regular season is upon us. It feels like just yesterday we were starting training camp and our guys were riding bikes across the street. And this was before the Vikings game. Now we sit 9-6-1 with a divisional matchup to go and a playoff spot solidified. Adversity is the norm in the National Football League, and I am extremely proud of how our team has handled many challenges. Last season, we struggled within our division, and this year we improved to 4-1, which is now 4-2. We've persevered, through a litany of injuries and a very challenging schedule, and placed ourselves in a position to compete for our ultimate goal, which is a Super Bowl championship. So you had some people kind of taking the line where Policy here says, where he's extremely proud of how their team has handled many challenges as a kind of endorsement to Matt LaFleur and Goody. You know, I do wonder that there's a couple reasons why I think maybe this is, because you see a lot of national analysts out there and they question why Green Bay would make a move, why they would move on from Matt LaFleur. Like, there's some national analysts out there saying that doesn't make any sense why they would do that. And I think there's a couple things to this. One, you have a new man in charge. You have a new president. You have a new kind of, guy making these decisions, and it's an unknown factor. Right? It's an unknown factor. You don't know what is going to what he's thinking. We don't have a really good gauge. Right? If it was Mark Murphy still, we'd probably okay, yeah, Matt LaFleur's going to be there. He's going to be back. It's, but the fact that it's a new voice, it's a new leader, and just wrapping up his first year, it's a big unknown. Two, it's the comments about, not going to give them an extension heading into with 2 years left on their deal. And everybody ran with that, but at the same time, he also said he is not a believer in a lame duck status, which is 1 year left. So it kind of is like, okay, this is kind of a prove-it year then. My gut, I feel like LaFleur is going to be back. Now, I thought there was some interesting stuff I was reading over the weekend, too. Does LaFleur, what if Ed Policy says, we'll offer you a 1-year extension? Does LaFleur take that? Or does he say, no thanks, I'll either finish out this season or the next season, probably get another head coaching job elsewhere, and maybe get a little bit of a pay raise? Where, or does the other scenario that is being thrown out there is the possibility that Ed Policy restructures. Remember Mark Murphy a few years ago, right before Matt LaFleur was hired. It was right when Goody was hired, I believe, because McCarthy was still there, where everybody reported to Mark Murphy, right? GM reported to Mark Murphy. Russ Ball reported to Mark Murphy. At that time, Mike McCarthy, Matt LaFleur reported to Mark Murphy. There is some thoughts out there that Ed Policy could eliminate that and kind of go back to where, all right, Goody, you're in charge of everything football. Where then he would place the decision on Goody to retain Matt LaFleur or not. So there's that thought process that kind of essentially saying, I'm not going to make the decision. I'm going to give you the power to make all football decisions. Kind of going back to, like what Bob Harlan and Ron Wolf and Ted Thompson and all that stuff. It is an unknown. It's an unknown. So that's why I think it's become such a hot button topic, or a hot, topic out there for a lot of people. It's like, because it's uncharted territory. And there's even some talk out there too that, Matt LaFleur maybe doesn't want to just have 1 year and say, okay, I don't want a 1-year extension, but I also don't want to coach for 1 more year. Let me go. Whenever that season's over with. The best thing for, if Green Bay wins on Saturday, I think this is all a moot point. If they lose on Saturday, there's going to be a lot of talk about it. And if Policy doesn't want that talk, then the guy's going to have to come out and say it right away. No. He's staying. We want him. We're going to work out a deal. And maybe they've had those conversations behind closed doors and we just don't know. The fact that we don't know anything and nothing's kind of being leaked or anything like that also adds a little bit more, shall we say, speculation or unknown of what's going on with this situation. If anything, I think Goody is more locked in than LaFleur. Now, Goody hasn't been perfect. Okay, his decisions and some of his moves have not been the best. The Micah Parsons one, he won that trade in my opinion. But I think we can also criticize, did the Nate Hobbs one work out? Or has it been working out? Has the Aaron Banks one been working out? Questionable, maybe at best. You can look at some of his first-round draft picks. It hasn't been perfect. But if you were to ask me, between Goody and LaFleur, the two guys that have, after this season, 1 year left, who would be in a better position or more likely to stay, I'd probably say Goody. But ultimately, my gut, my feeling is I feel like these guys are going to be attached at the hip, and they're not going anywhere after this year. That's just my thoughts. That's my gut telling me. But I am very curious to see how Saturday night's game goes. If it is a complete blowout at the hands of Chicago going up against Green Bay, regardless of the injuries, I do wonder. I wonder a little bit. I ultimately don't. Right now, I'm not going to make a pick, but I don't think it's going to be that big time blowout. I think it's going to be another close battle like we saw in the 2 regular season games. You look at these playoffs. Somebody, a friend of mine yesterday asked me who I had coming out of the NFC and coming out of the AFC, and I said roll a dice. Just roll a dice at this point. I have no idea. It's not. I don't think they're going to be a very popular pick, even though they're a 1 seed. You got to be impressed with how Seattle's playing. Sam Darnold, for all of his demons and the question marks about can he win big games in that, he is exercising some of those demons this season with Seattle. And how that defense slowed down, and I get it. Purcell was missing. Trent Williams was missing from the 49ers. But to limit the 49ers to just 3 points in San Francisco was pretty darn impressive. To outduel the Rams a couple weeks earlier, 38-37. Seahawks, they get a lot of talk about their defense. Mike McDonald, defensive-minded head coach. The improvements from the last couple years defensively. But their offense, I mean, don't sleep on this offense and what Sam Darnold has done and what this team has done offensively, too. And remember, too, John Schneider, I don't know who's going to win like Executive of the Year, but John Schneider has done a fantastic job with this team this offseason, right? I mean, trading DK Metcalf, trading Geno Smith, signing Sam Darnold, moving on from Tyler Lockett. It's like, what are they doing? 1 seed, they win the NFC West. And they look pretty dang good. But could I see them not make it? Yeah, I mean, roll the dice. I have no idea who's going to come out either on the AFC or the NFC. And I'm okay with that. Like, I'm glad that it doesn't feel like, it's going to be Chiefs and Eagles, or maybe it could be Eagles again. I wouldn't be surprised. I just feel like it's a little bit more open. You can make the case for 95% of these teams to go represent their conferences in the Super Bowl this year. That's my feeling. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll talk some more playoff football coming up after these few words. So again, if you missed it from last night, the NFL playoff schedule is as follows. Rams will be taking on the Panthers Saturday, 3:30. Then Saturday night, 7 p.m., Packers visiting the Chicago Bears. It is on Amazon Prime. Don't shoot the messenger. It's not my fault. I'm just telling you, so you can keep your vents to yourself on that one, or send it to the NFL if they even care. But it'll be on Prime, so you either have to sign up for a free trial or sign up for the service or go somewhere if you want to watch it in that. But then Sunday at noon, it'll be Bills versus Jaguars. 3:30 Sunday afternoon, 49ers taking on the Eagles. Chargers visiting the Patriots for Sunday night. And Monday night will be the Texans taking on Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. So those, again, are your playoff matchups. Just kind of looking at some early lines for these games here. You've got the Rams as a 9.5-point favorites going to Carolina. Green Bay is a 1.5-point favorite so far. Buffalo is a 1.5-point favorite. Philadelphia is a 3.5-point favorite over San Francisco. New England, 3.5-point favorite against the Chargers. Houston, a 3.5-point favorite as well. So, I mean, a lot of these you're talking about 3 points, home field difference, neutral site, it'd be like neck and neck. And I'm not surprised that the Rams have the biggest odds to win. That one doesn't surprise me. I'm actually a little surprised that New England's only a 3.5-point favorite, but maybe just a skosh with that. But again, that's why I feel like I would not be surprised. It's my Monday morning. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying I'm not saying I'm going to pick this. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if every road team won this weekend. Rams, road team, favored. Green Bay, road team, favored. Buffalo, road team, favored. Houston, road team, favored. The other two, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Philly's the home team. New England's the home team, and those are both 3.5. Would it surprise anybody if San Francisco went into Philadelphia and won? It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't even surprise me if the Chargers went into New England and won. It wouldn't surprise me at all. I think you've got the makings of some really, really good matchups. And I probably say this. I think a lot of people probably say this every, wild card weekend or divisional round weekend. But it sure looks like we've got some really, really good games. Like this coming weekend, I can't wait. I can't wait to just hang out in the man cave and watch some football all weekend long. Obviously, being a Packers fan, I'm hoping that Sunday will be kind of a victory Sunday and such, and not, the season's over with, blah, blah, blah sort of thing. But, man, I think outside Green Bay and Chicago, I'm looking at Buffalo and Jacksonville and San Francisco and Philadelphia as two really, really good matchups. San Francisco's offense, Philly's defense. I mean, Philly's got weapons on the offensive side of things too, going up against a San Francisco defense that, has missed some guys due to injury, Bosa and Fred Warner. But I think those two matchups, a Jacksonville team that's playing with a ton of confidence, a Buffalo team that, this year coming in with Super Bowl expectations, and maybe it's like this in Buffalo, but where's the Sean McDermott talk about, if there's all this Matt LaFleur talk about whether Green Bay should keep him or not, where's the Sean McDermott talk? And maybe there is. I'm not quite sure. I don't listen to Buffalo sports talk or anything like that, and I don't know what's going on over there, but maybe there is. But it's kind of two similar situations. I'd argue, though, that, Josh Allen's better quarterback right now, and he's got an MVP in that. But still, I digress. But yeah, I'm looking at, heck, Houston, Pittsburgh. You got Rodgers back in the postseason, going up against that great defense in Houston. Chargers, I think, could be a sneaky team. Even looking at the over-unders on this thing, a lot of similarities. A little surprised that the Rams one. It's only 46.5. Green Bay, Chicago's 45.5. Buffalo, Jacksonville, 51.5. San Francisco, Philadelphia, 45.5. Chargers, New England, 46.5. Houston, Pittsburgh, no surprise that that's the lowest one. That's a 39.5. So, but we do know if Green Bay does win, we know who they're going to be playing in the second round. It'll be a road trip to Seattle. They'll be going out there, taking on the Seahawks. So we at least know that. I mean, that's pretty much the only real matchup we know, that if this team wins, where they're going to go. Same on the AFC side of things. Chargers win, they'll have a rematch against the Denver Broncos. Oh, man, I love playoff football. I think usually I'm a big fan of divisional round weekends over wild card weekends, but man, there's just some juicy matchups here. And there's no doubt, too. I mean, if you get to the divisional round and you look at some of these potential matchups, there's some really good ones in here, too. That's why I felt like, yesterday watching Bears and Eagles, and I know the Bears played their starters in that, but the Eagles, resting some of their guys, I'm sure they probably thought they could maybe still get the W going up against, Washington's third-string quarterback. But if I'm Philly, I'll ask this, I'd ask this question: would I rather play a banged-up Green Bay team at home, rather a San Francisco team that, they're a little bit banged up too, but that offense is just, they've been putting up a lot of points outside of their last game here. Who would I rather play, Green Bay or San Francisco, or maybe even potentially if the Rams would have lost? If I'm Philly, I'd probably say I'd rather play Green Bay. I don't know if they were scoreboard watching, if they got to have been paying attention to what was going on in the Detroit-Chicago game. But if Philly loses this weekend, I think that's going to be questioned, maybe why they didn't play a lot of their starters with something still to play for, a potential 2 seed. And remember, too, if they win, they get that 2 seed, they win, they would host again. Whereas the 3 seed, that's not a given that they would host again. You're talking about 2 playoff home games. All right. Got to take another quick break here as we're at the bottom of the hour here. So more football talk, more playoff talk, hoops. Don't forget to continue to send me your VFW Post 305 best and worst from the weekend. Best ones, I'll read on the air. Also, send me your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. What's your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying? Send those on over too, with text on that Shoe Doctors Bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Quick break, and we'll be back after these few words. So if we do an updated count in terms of head coach openings right now, we had a couple in season. That would be Tennessee. That would be the Giants. We know Atlanta is now open. Cleveland is now open. There's a lot of speculation, thoughts that the Raiders will be open. So that would be up to 5 if that's the case. Other than that, I mean, well, Baltimore now, I thought the loser of last night's game, Pittsburgh-Baltimore, there would be some interesting maybe discussions with that one. I ultimately still feel like Harbaugh is going to be back for Baltimore. Again, this is just my gut feelings. It sounds like Tampa Bay, Bowles is going to be back. Todd Bowles is going to be back. I thought that one was maybe kind of the way they were trending. It was like, oh, that one ain't looking good, but it sounds like he's going to be back too. So, haven't really heard anything about Cincinnati, so it seems like Zach Taylor will be back for the Bengals. By the way, worse from the weekend too. I'm going to go with Zach Taylor and Jamar Chase for essentially complaining and whining. I'm sorry. Myles Garrett gets the sack record. And Zach Taylor talked about it in the presser. He was upset that they stopped the game to recognize that the officials stopped the game to recognize that. Jamar Chase saying some of the same things there. It's like, come on now. I mean, they do this for every single milestone to that level to break an NFL record at. I thought it was in poor taste. Just my opinion. I thought it was in poor taste. But, kind of looking at, sounds like Mike McDaniel will be back in Miami at least. That's kind of the trend right now. So I don't know what else would kind of be available. We know New Orleans isn't making any moves. Arizona, I don't know, maybe. Feels like there's always that one surprise though. Maybe that'll come after the wild card weekend for some teams. I don't know about all of them, but again, next hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes that we have left. If anything else pops up, we'll definitely keep you posted. So, but yeah, just the one so far this morning. Stefanski from the Browns. Last night we knew Raheem Morris out from Atlanta. Again, that's a name I would say. Raheem Morris, if you're a Packers fan, if Jeff Hafley gets a head coaching job somewhere, Raheem Morris is a name you might want to remember just in case as a potential replacement. Now, it's very possible that, if Matt LaFleur decides to promote from within for his defensive coordinator, he could do that. I mean, you got Ansley Jr., who is a former defensive coordinator. He's got experience. DeMarcus Covington, their defensive line coach, is a former defensive coordinator. So he does have a couple of guys on staff that he could look to promote that have been former defensive coordinators. But if he wants to bring somebody else in, Raheem Morris, they've got a relationship, a friendship. They go back to their Washington days. They're a part of the Shanahan tree. So that would be a name just to kind of keep in the back of your mind. Just to keep in the back of your mind that could be a potential option. Long ways to go yet before that. So, and if you want Jeff Hafley to remain in Green Bay, the best thing maybe you got to hope for at least a couple weeks here for Green Bay to stack a couple wins. Unless there is a team that is just very much in love with him, that they're willing to wait and they're willing to, be patient with that. But it is something, and you kind of heard it in the telecast yesterday too. And I appreciate the open and the honesty from Hafley saying, you kind of have to, maybe talk to some guys right now about potential offensive coordinators, putting together a potential staff and that. So, I mean, you are kind of talking about that. Yeah, I appreciate the honesty and the openness about that stuff instead of, thinking we're all kind of fools at you're really not talking to anybody? You're really just focusing? No, yeah, we know. Hey, So I hope Daniel Whalen's leg is okay from yesterday. I mean, the guy punted a ton. I mean, just ridiculous. I mean, he got enough work in. Just give him a little extra break here. But you want to know how good Daniel Whalen was this year? He led the NFL in punting. His 51.7 yard average won the punting title by more than a yard. He also finished 4th in the NFL in net punting. Again, this is a dude that half of his games he's punting outside in Green Bay where it can get a little dicey. So all the things that we have said about the special teams and all the stuff that we might have griped about, continue to gripe about, they got a dude at punter. They got somebody. And I'm glad they locked him up last year. But to have a 51.7 yard average and then finish 4th, top 5 in net, there's not a whole lot of things that we can sit here and brag about and be happy about and say something's really good on special teams. But we could say that with the punter. We could say that with Daniel Whelan. But kind of flew under the radar a little bit. But that dude, oh, man. I was watching that game yesterday, and I'm like, man, his leg going to get a little worn out? Going to get a little tired here? Getting all that work in? I mean, how many dang punts did he end up having? He had, where'd it go here? 8 punts. 8 flipping punts. He averaged 53.9. Longest was 58. And then 5 of his 8 all got it within the 22. So there's one at least positive thing about this Packers special teams unit is they got a good punter. They got a dude over there. And he has just gotten better and better every single year. So not after that. I mean, I thought Chris Brooks ran the ball well when he had some opportunities. Again, there's not a whole lot. If we're just looking at, like some offensive players and stat sheets and numbers and that, there's not a lot. But again, on the defensive side, I'll go to the Barron Sorrells, the Colin Olivers, the Brenton Cox Jr.'s. I thought those guys, again, you want those guys in a game that your team is admitting means nothing to us. We're treating this as a preseason game. I want those second and third stringers to go out there and say, well, it means something to us. It's an opportunity for them. It's an opportunity to showcase what they can bring to the table. It's an opportunity for them to say, hey, I could be a bigger part of this team. And I thought those 3 individuals did a really good job of that yesterday. I don't think it means that we're going to see more of them in this playoff game. But for next year, yeah, I think you are going to. Also, with the conclusion of the regular season, we now know the opponents for the Packers. We don't know the complete schedule in terms of when they will play these opponents, but we know who they're playing and where they're playing. So again, home, besides your obvious division games, Atlanta will be at Lambeau. Buffalo is going to be at Lambeau. That's going to be a hot ticket probably. Carolina is going to be at Lambeau. Dallas is going to be at Lambeau. Houston's going to be at Lambeau. And Miami is going to be at Lambeau. Away games outside of the division. Rams are going to be away. Saints are going to be away. Patriots are going to be away. Jets are going to be away. Tampa is going to be away. So, know the opponents. You know if they're going to be home or away. Just don't know the dates and all that stuff, which we won't know until after the draft. But there you have it. All right. Tell you what, let's take our final break as we start to wrap up the third quarter. Again, reminder coming up at the top, we'll do our local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center in Eau Claire. We'll talk to Justice Cleveland. Get his thoughts on some of the local stuff going on. High school-wise, it'll start to pick up a little bit more this week. Now that school's back in session, a little bit more of a regular schedule. We'll talk some Blue Goals. We'll talk some Stout. We'll talk some more about River Falls picking up the national championship in the Stag Bowl last night. So we'll hit that up. And he was at the game yesterday, too. We'll talk some more football. But, all right, we'll take a quick break as we start to wrap up the third hour. Coming up after these quick words. We've got some Pro Football Focus grades out from this Packers game, just in case you were kind of curious to see who might have performed fairly well in this thing. So let's start on the offensive side, kind of looking at some of the top grades here. Offensively, Anthony Belton, 76.9, was graded as the highest offensive player. Jacob Monk, Chris Brooks, Smith, the offensive lineman, Emmanuel Wilson, rounding out the top 5. Defensively, Trayvon Diggs had the highest grade from Pro Football Focus, 81.5. Isaiah McDuffie, Javon Bullard, Jonathan Baldwin, and Baron Sorrell. Those were your top 5 Pro Football Focus grades. And this was, of course, Packers fans' first glimpse of Trayvon Diggs. Just got to get a little bit, I think Jeff Hafley kind of called a game that was pretty, I would say it was like preseason, but probably kept it simple for a lot of those guys. Not a lot of exotic stuff and such. But, Trayvon Diggs, after the game, well, first of all, if you were on social media, you might have saw it. There was a Packers, I think the Packers tweeted it out and such, but a video of fans, made a sign for him and such. And Diggs was asked about that after the game and such. And he said, that was pretty cool. I enjoyed seeing that a lot. Green Bay is a wonderful place. It feels like a family here. These guys, I have a lot of my old teammates here, and everything feels tight. I'm clicking with all the guys. It's perfect. I think Diggs, and we kind of talked a little bit about it last week and such, but he does have quite the unique opportunity here, and I think we're going to see him quite a bit, on the fields against the Bears. We're going to see him, I think, lined up quite a bit. Whether Green Bay decides to go Carrington and Keyshawn as their base starting corners, I'll be, I think that remains to be seen at this point. But we are going to see 28 out on that field. I'm pretty confident saying that. I think he's got quite the opportunity here. He's saying all the right things about Green Bay, staying in Green Bay, wanting to be in Green Bay, making it at home. He's saying all the right things. The thing is, too, we know Green Bay is not going to bring him back at his current salary cap number. That would be dumb. Just call it what it is. That would be dumb. But he does have an opportunity to kind of show Green Bay why they should make a push to bring him back on a different deal. And I think Diggs knows he's going to have a different contract. I think Diggs knows that ultimately he's not going to get that. He's not going to be on that contract that he's at. And he doesn't have any guaranteed money going forward. And this is why it was such a low-risk move for Green Bay to pick him up, because he doesn't have the guaranteed money on it. So if Green Bay, releases him after this season, there won't be any dead cap hit. But if he goes out there and performs well, I would not be opposed of Green Bay bringing him back next year on a different deal. It can't be on that current deal that he has, that cap number that he has. It can't. And even if Green Bay does bring him back next year, I don't think it changes their mindset or what they have to do in the offseason. I think they still got to get better in that cornerback room. They still need more guys. And I think they're going to have to look at the draft. We know they don't have a first-round pick, but they're going to have to look at the draft and maybe address that room fairly early, whether it be a day 2. I think it's got to come from that second or third round. They're going to have to look at defensive tackle too. And I don't want to get too far ahead with talking draft and that, but, just with the Diggs thing, I think he does have an opportunity on Saturday night. If he goes out there and he gets those reps and he gets opportunities and he gets snaps to showcase kind of a tryout, hey, Green Bay, bring me back next year. And if he goes out there and he plays, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Just not at that contract that he currently has. It can't be. You cannot have, I think it was like $16, $17 million cap hit. You can't with a team that's already kind of strapped with cash with a cap hit. I would say Diggs has a better shot of being on this team next year on a different contract than Green Bay bringing back a Rashawn Gary or an Elton Jenkins. I think Gary and Elton Jenkins are probably gone. Freeing up some of that cap space. I think there's going to have to be some restructures. But we got plenty of time to get to the offseason stuff and take a look at that when we get to it. So we got playoffs and we got Bears week, man. We got the rubber match between Packers and Bears that we got to deep dive into all week long. Plenty of offseason talk to get into. But, hey, maybe Diggs could be a key guy. I don't know if Rome Odunze is going to be back for this game. But if he is, I mean, that's a big target for that Bears offense. So maybe a guy like Diggs can help out in that situation. They already got DJ Moore over there, Luther Burden. We know they like to get their targets involved with Loveland and Cole Kmet. So, Diggs, if he's got a good game in him yet for this season, would really like it going up against the Bears in that offense for sure. No question. All right, shot clock's going to cut me off here. In just a few seconds, we'll kick off the next hour with some local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. We'll chat about that. We'll chat some more football. We'll chat some hoops and everything else left on the game plan for us this morning. Don't forget to send me your best and worst from the weekend and your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. We taking a quick break. We got some news updates, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. All right, the final hour on this Monday morning coming at you. It's also a day with the day after the regular season. Might see some movement in the coaching departments and such. We've already saw Stefanski this morning from the Browns get fired. Last night was Ricky Morris. The Bengals just releasing a statement saying their coach, Zach Taylor, will be back next year. So one of them saying that they will be back. But there will be more news, I would imagine, later or throughout the day here this morning. So, and the Titans have already requested to interview Matt Nagy. So there you go. Get ready for that. And I wouldn't be surprised, Justice. That's the voice you hear across from me is Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we find out sometime today. I don't know what I know they changed it. If we find out permission to interview Jeff Halfley for some of these, interviews or job openings coming up here. So whether that's this week or next week, I know they slightly adjusted when you can do that now, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we hear that.
You've been hearing it all season, and his name's going to be out there for people. You can look at yesterday's game, and maybe even that's almost for him a feather in his hat.
That's what I think. Yeah,
because you had Evan Williams out there, Diggs out there every once in a while, but mainly it was your backups,
especially your front.
Yeah. Against a starting NFL offense, and held them to 16.
Yeah.
Your offense could have done anything. It could have been a different game because they were on the field a lot. I know by the end the possession had kind of evened out a little bit more, but in the first half, it was all the Vikings offense out there. So
I was worried about Daniel Whelan's leg for a little bit there.
Oh my goodness,
to make sure he was
he was probably the most giddy guy in that locker room.
Really?
Because he's like, I've been dreaming of a game like this. He was like, because he hadn't punted a lot in the last few games. So it's like for him to go out there and get this chance, and show what he can do. Obviously, no, he's a good punter.
Right.
Not that's what you want to hang your hat on in a game, but if you go by punting stats,
he led the league in punt average this year.
Yeah.
Which you factor half those games are at Lambeau and the elements and outside over 51 yards, a little over 51 yards. That's pretty impressive for all the stuff that we've knocked about special teams and such. That's been the one probably consistent positive throughout the whole season.
Really, I mean, he has been a weapon for them for field position and flipping the field, especially when your defense can play like that.
Yeah.
Something that, come Saturday, I want to say Sunday, come Saturday night is something that you're going to probably have to take advantage because it seems like those Bears games are always around, 20 points is enough to win a game or at least send it to overtime again. So that's what we saw yesterday with the Lions game. So they're usually just kind of, low scoring, knock-down, drag-out events. So
and maybe a guy who's used to punting in those elements too. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but it will be outdoors and such. So
I mean, there was soap snow coming down from the top of U.S. Bank. So
was it really?
Yes.
So I mean, talk a little bit about. You were there yesterday. I mean, it was very preseason-esque. Just the feeling, the watching it, not getting too up and down about it. I approached it, watching it like, okay, the front guys like, okay, we get to see Barron Sorrell, we get to see Colin Oliver, these guys get excited. I approached it like a preseason. It was clearly evident Green Bay approached it like preseason and such, flatly telling their own team, hey, this game doesn't matter. So what was it like, and especially with a rivalry game, too, a border battle game?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was trying to figure it out in my head of like how many times I've probably covered a Packer-Vikings game, and it's at least 30, if not somewhere closer to 40 games that I've covered these two teams playing each other. And I cannot think of a time when it was so much like there was nothing on the line, and there wasn't really a good storyline leading into the game. Like usually, if you go back in the years since I started in 2004, one of these teams has been battling for a playoff spot. Now, obviously, the Packers are in the playoffs, so that was. But it really had that feeling of, hey, it's Week 18. Let's play a preseason game, an exhibition game here to end the season, and that's really what it was. And the atmosphere, there were some empty seats there at U.S. Bank Stadium, I would say too. That doesn't help anything, but there was a pretty good amount of Packer fans that got some tickets and were loud for a little bit there until they realized there wasn't going to be a whole lot to cheer about. So it definitely was just an odd feel because, I mean, I've been playoff games between these two teams.
Yeah.
When Rodgers would, you had the Anthony Barr-Rodgers rivalry for a few years where I was there at the first, they celebrated, it was the 10th anniversary of U.S. Bank's, opening, and I was there for the first game between them so it's always seemed to have some kind of spice to it. You can go back to the Favre days and that, when I was there and Mike Tice was the head coach and all that.
Yeah.
Those and Culpepper. So there's been some spice. This was just like the complete opposite. And then when J.J. McCarthy goes out and now you really have the backups versus the backups, it really was, it was kind of surreal. And you were just kind of like, all right, just keep running the ball so this one kind of clock ticks out there. So very, very different. But I will say going into the locker room, there weren't people hanging their heads in the Packers locker room. They knew what this was. They were that was a confident locker room despite what had just happened on the field. So, and to a T, everybody was saying, "Oh, we've got confidence. We're not worried about the 4-game losing streak. This is a team that." And I think it was Bowler who's been quite outspoken lately.
Yeah,
and he said the only time teams have beat us is when we beat ourselves. So if we correct things and do things that we're supposed to do, we can win. And I think they know they've got a good chance against a Bears team that they just, let one slip away and then beat earlier in the season.
Right. So that's okay. So that was the question I was going to ask you, kind of a follow-up. What was that message? What was that vibe like in the locker room? So it sounds like, because it's one thing we get to see some of the clips and that, but you were there. So it seemed like a confident group going forward.
Yeah. I think they all know that they have the talent, that they could make a run. Now, granted, you go to the 3 games before this, 4th loss, and there's something there that hasn't been clicking right. But they've, other than the Ravens game, in this last game, I kind of throw this one out. They've been in almost every game, and it's just been weird things that have, games they shouldn't have lost. The talent, it is okay, this is the time. If you're going to put it together, obviously you have to put it together this week, and I think they have the talent. You have the offensive talent. We know that. And if those guys are healthy, that's going to be the key. If that offense is healthy and clicking again, man, that's a team that can be dangerous. And I think obviously the Bears know how dangerous they can be.
Right, exactly. So I don't know if you had a chance to kind of follow a little bit from that game last night, but is it Eagles? Is it Bears? Did the guys in the locker room? Did they kind of say, who they thought or prefer or anything like that? That's a team that they've faced both. They've obviously played the Bears twice. They played the Eagles once in that. They're familiar with each other, obviously. So there have been different story angles from each side because, well, we know what the Eagles, it's kind of had Green Bay's number over the last few years and such. Did they kind of talk about any of that a little bit, or were just focused on themselves?
I think it was more on themselves. It was more like, okay, who do we get to go? And I think it's Boulder go kick their butt.
Yeah.
In on the road. They know they're going to be on the road. They know they're going to be playing in a hostile, but no matter where they go. Obviously, you go to Philadelphia, maybe the most hostile fans in the country, and then you go to Soldier Field, and you have 70,000 fans that just despise their team and take no more joy into beating the Packers and would just love to knock the Packers out of the playoffs. So I think that's a team that knows the challenge in front of them and really are focused. I think even this week, I'm sure there was, a lot of planning for what's coming up, not so much what was planning for those starters,
right?
For what's coming up, not for that Vikings game. So,
and I know there's going to be a lot of will be talked about. However, this game goes on Saturday night. Should Green Bay have rested all those guys? Should they have played a little bit? Should Jordan Love have done a few snaps here or there and such? And I know Matt LaFleur talked about it after the game, saying he's happy with the decision they made. They talked about Christian Watson. That's when he tore his ACL, was the final game, last year. Then I don't know if it was a shot again, but I don't know if you saw Ben Johnson's comments after the game yesterday where he said some teams decide to rest their starters. We played our starters because we play football. So I don't know if that was a shot, but
that's such an easy shot to take when your team's done
right
after that game. Like you had nothing on the line other than just pride. I don't see why you would rest if you're the Vikings.
Right.
So, I think it's okay. I'll take a little war of words like that.
Right. And
I'm sorry. I'm thinking.
You're thinking Kevin O'Connell.
I'm thinking O'Connell. Sorry.
Yeah. No, this was Ben Johnson. Yeah.
Can we take two? Yeah. No, Ben Johnson. They did have something to play. Now and I give them credit. I don't know what the Eagles were. why you don't play for that number 2 seed.
Yeah.
That to me was kind of
if I'm the Eagles,
fishy.
I'd probably rather play Green Bay than maybe at that point it was either going to be San Fran or the Rams.
Right.
So that one I don't know if they thought, hey, we could still beat Washington with their third string quarterback. Which
I mean, it was Josh Johnson. I mean,
yeah.
Mr.
18 years.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
That is quite. I mean, we talk about journeyman. I don't think there's ever we've had a journeyman quarterback in the league like Josh Johnson for 18 years.
Yeah. He's only made 11 starts, I think they said. So,
but I mean, credit to him. Credit to that team for finding a way to get the win there. And yeah, for Philly, you had it. You had that second seed. All you had to do was start Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
But again, getting healthy for this run, I can understand. Obviously, with the Packers doing what they did there. So, yeah. Ben Johnson, I do like the war of words. So now that I've realized that he's the coach. But no, the Vikings, I mean, definitely obviously had no reason to not start all their guys. And it was kind of neat to see, going back to that game, the Ham and Harrison Smith things going on there with the final games, and the cool timeout for, even the ref announcing to honor Harrison Smith. So that's kind of neat to see things like that.
And that's where I go back to, I don't know if you saw this last night, too, where the Zach Taylor from the Bengals and that saying, annoyed with the officials for stopping the game after Myles Garrett got. I'm like, come on, dude. You knew it.
Yeah.
Everybody in the world knows that there's going to be a delay and that. So, but yeah, I thought that was kind of lame from Zach Taylor.
And I love he's like, we're playing for our lives. I'm like, are you?
Yeah.
I guess you're playing for your job. Maybe that was the right thing to say. He got to keep his job.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And also, though, the Bengals aren't a team that wants to pay out any extra money. They never, notoriously, they have been very tight with keeping that money close to the vest there. And if they have a guy under contract, they usually don't let him go. So
exactly. So
he'll get another year to see if they can find the magic they had a few years ago.
So how are you feeling from a Packers side of things heading into this game against Chicago, the rubber match for this year, for this series, for this season? I mean, I got to imagine the environment. I mean, we thought the first matchup and the second matchup with all the talk and leading up, I got to imagine this one's just going to be even more, as the kids like to say, lit and excited. But from a Packers perspective, how do you like their chances going into Chicago to get this W?
I think they have a good chance, obviously, just because of what they've done, the track record in the 2 games against Chicago. Now, if you're Chicago, you run the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, but if you're Green Bay, did you discover something here in this last game? Maybe Sorrell coming out, looking that you have maybe some guys now that you can fill in in the middle there and maybe get some run stoppers. But again, the Minnesota was running the ball pretty well. And I was actually surprised the amount of times they passed the ball.
Yeah.
Because when you guys are getting 5-6 yards on a pop, so, and you don't know what schemes, again, if it was a preseason
if Halfley was being very, I don't want to say generic, but not being as creative.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Well, that's kind of like guys looked on offense. I'm like, they're not doing anything that's going to give away anything. Now, granted, I don't know at this point, how much can you keep behind the vest on week 18 of the regular season when you have your backups in? But they definitely weren't giving Clayton Tune much to work with there to even show.
Yeah.
I mean, for a while there, he was on pace to have one of the top 10 worst passing performances in NFL history since they started keeping track of sacks and stuff like that. At the end, he pulled it away from being the worst in Packers history, but it was right there for a while there. And so I think this Packer team, this was almost a reset button for them. Like, okay, we've lost these 3 in a row. There's this game in between. Most of you guys aren't even going to see the field, and now it's playoff time. I really do feel like they used it as a reset button, okay? This is your chance to get fresh if you're a guy who's been injured or you get a week. And they talking to Evan Williams after the game. He said it means a ton for a lot of these guys who are getting close to 1,000 snaps or have played 1,000 snaps to have a week where they can kind of refresh their body. Means a ton to them.
Because remember, they had a week 5 bye.
Yeah. It's been a long time. Now, I'm sure they're not happy they got the Saturday game, but at least they played a Sunday early game and get those few extra, I don't know how much they're going to get fly back to wherever you're going and stuff like that. But I think this is it's a good chance for the Packers to reset their season and see that potential we saw in the middle of the season. Because it has been a season of streaks this year. Win, lose, win, lose, win, lose. win 4, you hold the Lombardi trophy. So you lose 4. It would be the craziest for them to lose 4 in a row going in the playoffs and then go in and win 4 straight. But they've done it before.
Do you think Matt LaFleur needs to win this game to save his job, or do you think that's getting overblown?
I think that's getting overblown.
I do too.
Matt LaFleur gets fired, he's hired like that.
Yep, I would agree.
His track record's there. There's always this the grass is always greener philosophy. But man, if you're getting into the tournament and you have a chance, I've always said that's something that you need to have. If you got a chance to, guess they haven't been as successful as you would like. There's been, unfortunately, they're not the Chiefs, then they're not the Patriots.
Does that hamper? Is that like the overlying thing that just makes it like? Because I feel like that was a lot with the Rodgers era during the Patriots one.
Yeah,
was that you look at it from the success, and you have the Patriots just doing this ungodly thing that we have never seen before.
Right, and we'll probably never see it again.
And then right after that was the Chiefs going on their run there too, and it's like, okay, I think for a lot of people, for Packers fans, it was probably like, okay, Aaron's more talented than Brady. Why is this not happening for us?
Yeah.
And then you had the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes, and then I think it turned into, okay, that's a talented quarterback, just like Rodgers. Why is that not happening for us? It was just, I think that was part of the reason why some Packers fans are so frustrated.
Yeah.
That it's not them, and really, those are really rare things.
Right. Unfortunately, like the stars all aligned for those two teams, and it just didn't get to the point for the Packers where they were close so many times. And obviously, you can think of times when they should have probably been in the Super Bowl in Seattle, and things didn't work out. And I would go with LaFleur. I mean, the Tampa Bay game will be the one that'll stick in my head as they probably had a good chance in that one. And it didn't work out.
And then you just wonder if David Bakhtiari doesn't tear his ACL.
Right.
How much did that factor into it?
How much does Tucker Kraft getting injured this year?
And Micah,
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so there's a point where you're snake bitten. I'll put it this way. They haven't been the Patriots. They haven't been the Chiefs. They haven't been the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
So there's two sides of that coin. And I don't think Matt LaFleur gets fired. I just don't think enough of this is on his shoulders to put him out to pasture. And bring in who?
Right.
Who are you going to bring in?
Well, like Pro Football Talk yesterday, and this was an opinion piece, they said Kevin Stefanski for Green Bay. And I'm like, is that an upgrade, though?
Bring him in as an assistant.
Right.
I would be fine with that, but why would you go from a guy who has struggled in Cleveland? I guess maybe they want to be the Cleveland Browns. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it either. I feel like that would be, and I think part of it though too is maybe it's more of we don't know Ed policy, we don't know his mindset. Like
Right.
if this was Mark Murphy, it's probably not being talked about, sort of thing. I don't know if it's just more of the unknown territory because it's a new leader in charge and we don't know what he's like.
Yeah, I mean, just from body language, Ed policy didn't seem too upset yesterday up there in the box and when he was leaving yesterday. So I don't think this is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode about the. I think you give him another year. I think you probably extend him, honestly, because you don't want a lame duck coach coming in. So.
Right. And then, they're making the arguments, well, if they only offer him a 1 year, does Matt LaFleur turn that down? And I think now we're getting too far into the weeds in this thing.
Yeah.
And trying to look at a bunch of different stuff here. And I can't see it happening.
No.
I really don't. So,
yeah, again, if he gets fired, he's hired by somebody this year and is right back there. And his track record is one of success, at least regular season success. He hasn't had the Super Bowl. But the regular season success is there. We'll see what he can do in the postseason this year, maybe to add to that legacy.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a quick break here. We're going to do some local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center, UW River Falls. We've talked about them a couple times last night, but the Stag champs, national champs from last night. We'll hit that up. Coming up after these quick words. Approaching the bottom of the hour here, our good buddy Mr. Justice Cleveland, Sports Team 13, joining us here this morning, fresh off of being over in Minnesota for the season finale between Green Bay and Minnesota. But I want to hit up some local sports roundup because I know Brandon kind of talked about it a little bit on Friday, but now with school back in session, probably a little bit more of a regular schedule with a lot of the prep games and such, but maybe a good note, too, if we are going to have some winter weather with icy roads, that may affect some games coming up here, too.
I mean,
but
if anybody drove back from Minneapolis, we were lucky because the rain was done by the time we got here.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's the only place we ran into ice. But, yeah, once we got into Eau Claire, it was a little dicey around city limits here as anybody who was around. But,
exactly.
Yeah, so check your scheduling, go to the conference websites, and you'll be able to find out if something's going on.
Yeah, so I know there was some stuff going on, the last few days, but this is pretty much now we're getting into the regular flow, back to the regular flow of a lot of this stuff.
Basically, the next month and a half, your conference games, then you get into playoffs here. So it's the second half of that winter season.
Right.
And it gets, kind of fun this week. I know one game, it's kind of cool. It's going to be the 50th anniversary of Eau Claire North and Memorial hockey.
Nice.
50th year that they've been meeting. So that'll be on Thursday night at Hobbs.
Okay.
So they're doing a big thing. I know down there, I think it's Rays, that they're having a little get-together before. And then
perfect spot to do it.
Yep. And then they're doing, they're going to have big stuff at the game. I know because it was like the ECA Stars the week before celebrated their 20th year as well. So it's kind of neat to see these hockey programs and just seeing what they started as. And now, you get a 50th anniversary meeting between North and Memorial on the ice and a rivalry that's always been kind of fun.
Absolutely. So that'll be definitely good. Last night, though, for football, just to the west of us, River Falls national champs, they got into a 14-3 hole, but that offense, you can't slow that offense down, and their defense stepping up too, not allowing any more. And this was a perennial powerhouse they went up against North Central. Six straight appearances, I believe.
Yeah.
So down to 14-3, but they come back and win 24-14, capturing their first national championship. So what a turnaround this program has gone the last few years, too.
It is amazing. And I don't know if anybody was watching the broadcast to see Walker talk after the game and talking about how he was on teams that didn't win games. They won 3 games his first 3 seasons, went 0-10 that third season.
Yeah.
If you're him, you got to be thinking to yourself, okay, what are my chances? We're going on a downward trend, but credit to the River Falls athletic staff for sticking with him, seeing his vision, and it took a while. And then he's talked about how during COVID, him and his coaches just redrew the whole offensive game plan.
Yeah,
and my goodness, since then, it's just the trajectory that they've been on to get to the ultimate height there of getting the championship is amazing. So credit to his staff. And obviously credit to the players. Just a great group of loaded players. Caleb Blaha, we're not going to probably ever see a quarterback like him again in this in the WIAC. Like the numbers he puts up and what he can do with his feet. Winning the Gagliardi Award from St. John's for the Heisman basically of D3 football.
Yep.
Then you saw why in that game, especially that last touchdown there. And the defense they had too. They talked about how that defense had to be good because they were on the field a lot. If the way they play offense, if they go 3 quick, they're only on the sidelines for about a minute and a half, and they're back out on the field.
Right.
There hasn't been too many times when they went out 3 quick, 3 and out. But yeah, so just everything that they've put together, worked out, playing in the toughest conference. Iron sharpens iron. And then going to play a perennial powerhouse, probably even with River Falls winning, it's still probably the best D3 school right now, football-wise, in North Central, and getting the win.
Yeah.
What else do you got to prove? That is pretty amazing.
It is. And I know, we had some people kind of chiming in as the River Falls quarterback going to get pro. I'm sure, pro days or such, you never say never.
No, you never say never.
I mean, we've seen D3 football players and remember Isaiah Cage, lineman for the Blue Goals and such, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him in like a training camp or preseason.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised. He's an athlete too. So he, I think guys will look at that, especially what he can do with his feet. It's like, and if he's not a quarterback, what they can do with him, at another position. But I think he'll get a look. And I mean, it is a tough. You don't see many D3 quarterbacks get a shot, but I think you do what he does, and what did he pass? What did he pass for all-time like touchdowns in a season as a quarterback or yards in a season? So why am I blanking on the name? Bengals quarterback.
Burrow?
Thank you, Joe Burrow. I kept thinking Herbert, and I'm like, no, it's not Herbert. It's not Herbert. Joe Burrow, like he passed him for most yards.
Wow.
Like 6,000 yards or something like that. It is just, Wow. So I think if you're any scout, you're going to look at that and say, okay, let's give them a look.
Right.
Look at some of those wide receivers they have on that team are some bigger guys too. You got that height, and some of those are, bigger guys that if you had to in the pros, maybe could play tight end. So I think there'll be some guys that are, going to get some interest there. But, man, what a team.
Right.
What a team.
Yeah, absolutely. So, again, congrats to UW River Falls on securing that championship. So, Blue Golds-wise, I know basketball, they got into their conference play over the weekend, too. The men's team suffering their first loss to Stevens Point, 78-75. But the women's team continuing their awesome start. They did pick up a win against Stevens Point. So both the Blue Gold basketball teams with just one loss total on the season.
And I think if you're the men's team, that's a tough way to start conference. But I think they know I talked to them after their last non-conference game. They know what the war is going to be in the WIAC. Coming up this year, it's going to be. Just every game is going to be like that.
Yeah.
And they got a taste of it right there off, going over and playing it on Bennett Court there and losing a tough one. But you hung with them. A lot of conference yet to be played.
And it's a talented Point team, too.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I mean, up and down. We just talked about it with the football. I mean, you look at the basketball this year, it is going to be, for both the men's and women's, these are going to be some battles.
Yeah, and on the Stout side of things, too. I mean, you have a Stout women's team that was just at the Final Four last year, too. I know they fell to Platteville over the weekend. Men's team also falling to Platteville as well. But, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see this being a close conference standings for both men's and women's basketball.
Lacrosse men's wise is ranked up there.
Top five
as well. You just go down, up and down. There's going to be battle, and Stout has played very well on the men's side, women's side obviously too. Resetting with the women's side with the amount of players that they lost, but still, like we saw in non-conference, still showing off what they can do. The men's team played a lot of really close games. So I think getting the conference, they're a team that's like people are probably going to try to underestimate them, but I see them knocking off some of these bigger opponents here because they can shoot. They can shoot. They have some experience guys inside as well. I
know, not to get too far ahead, but coming up, I think, is it on the 17th? Let me bring up 17th. That Blue Gold lacrosse game at Sonnentag, 5 p.m. men's game. That's going to be huge.
I looked at the schedule there, too. So you have that as the end of the first go-around. So then it's lacrosse in Eau Claire to end conference season as well. That one will be down in lacrosse.
Right.
So there's going to be, that could be for a lot of things. If it's not just, it'll be for seeding for sure. But if not for, you would love for it to come down to the conference.
Yep.
Granted, there's, I think, Platteville, Point, River Falls, Stout. Oshkosh,
yep.
They're all going to have Whitewater. They're all going to have things to say about that. But, man, that would be if I could draw it up, that's how I'd love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I know hockey's going on, too, as we kind of start to, get into gear with that, too. But, heck, even indoor track and field. We've got events going on.
The hockey teams are playing very, very well. I know the women's team just got a win. Both teams actually just got wins over the weekend as well. So, I think going to the second half of their seasons too, we're going to have a lot of fun watching the Blue Golds here in the athletic realm.
Yeah, I mean for the women's team, they've got they're coming off that 7-0 win against Bethel University on Saturday. So St. Mary's already for a home and away this weekend, and you're talking about a little over a month left of the regular season for that. And then the men's team, they're coming off of wins against Stevens Point over the weekend. So
anytime they can beat Point too, that's when that's a feather in their hat.
Yep. Especially, definitely. And then Milwaukee School of Engineering coming up this weekend too. And you're talking about a little over a month left of that regular season too.
Get into the WIAC tournament, which man, for hockey, for all the sports, but man, hockey ones always seems to be a lot of drama, especially when the Blue Golds are involved. We've seen some epic matches there out on the ice there at Hobbs and wherever they've traveled.
All right, that's your local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more with JC and EC coming up after these quick words. Back with Justice Cleveland, sports director extraordinaire, WEAU 13 News, as we get about 18 minutes left of the program here. Don't think we'll have any Packers news today and such, but with a lot of the firings and such.
Yeah.
So, but
did you catch the end of that Steelers?
Did
Wow.
Yeah. I you know what? I've actually seen a lot of Packers fans saying they're happy for Rodgers and such. I mean,
I think going to Pittsburgh's kind of rehabilitated his image a little bit. There, I felt like there was a span where at the end of his Packers and then when he was at the Jets,
right,
you couldn't kind of escape Aaron Rodgers. I think people got a little bit burned out.
Yes.
Just it was a case of overexposure, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe he's kind of found more back to his roots and his passion. Pittsburgh's been just a perfect fit for him going back to maybe like a blue-collar town, kind of like what Green Bay is. Green Bay is a blue-collar town, I can tell you that for sure. And so I think maybe going back to Pittsburgh kind of rekindled that, and I didn't think he was going to have a chance to go to the playoffs. I really thought that was the Ravens had that game. The craziness of I didn't tune. It's funny because I tuned in, and Pittsburgh had just scored. Ravens as before the score before the score.
Mm-hmm.
So then the Ravens 2 plays or whatever, and then they move it whoever Flowers gets the touchdown there. So it's like, okay, well, the Ravens are back in charge. Rodgers just a drive of perfection. Defender falls down. They take the lead, but then to have Boswell miss that extra point. And it's you kind of feel bad because either way, the kicker was going to get the blame in this game. And to get down there and have a shot for a field goal for a kicker who's just been clutch the whole year.
Yeah, and I think I saw a lot of Packers fans also saying, why now does Aaron get help from a kicker missing a kick at the end of a game where how many times in Green Bay history did his season and the Packers seasons end because of a game-winning kick?
Yeah.
So
I just think, what we saw last night is going to be just kind of what these playoffs are going to be like.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be just ultra competitive, down to the wire. There have been some really thrilling games this year.
I said it last night and I said it again this morning. I'm not necessarily picking it. I don't think it's that far-fetched to say if we come back next Tuesday because we have a Monday night game for the playoffs, every road team gets the win.
Oh, it could happen. Oh, it definitely could happen.
Because you've got Rams at Panthers. Rams are the heavy favorite. Packers are actually favored in their matchup right now, 1.5 point favorite.
Wow.
Yeah. Houston at Pittsburgh. Houston's defense, the way they're playing right now.
Yep.
I mean, I could definitely Buffalo at Jacksonville that's going to be a fun one, I think.
Yeah, because that's the one where you have the team that's been there, has had deep playoff runs against a team really dipping their toe back into this experience here. So, I think that one could be a really good one.
And then you've got the Chargers at the Patriots, which kind of the similar thing, too. Patriots a nice surprise this year and a really great team. But then, the Chargers the last couple of years have been there. You got a good defense. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not necessarily picking it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go in there. And then Philly taking on San Francisco.
Right.
So, I mean,
a San Francisco team that, has just – it probably should have won that Seattle game.
Mm-hmm.
As teams that have experienced a third and long to not get that stuff. It was kind of neat that they had the shot on John Lynch.
Yeah.
When he saw that, how does that happen? And that really ended up being pretty much the game.
Yeah.
If they get the stop there, it could be a whole different thing. So, and then Seattle's not a proven commodity.
No.
Sam Darnold has shown, the fact that stat of him and Tom Brady, the only guys to lead teams on back-to-back 14-win seasons. Yeah. That's pretty crazy, but good for him. Good for Sam Darnold. For a guy who was written off, and his career was
as a
over.
bust, and that's where I'm glad these guys are getting other opportunities, and I think it's so important. Like for a guy like Malik Willis now,
right?
Because I think what really helped Sam Darnold was probably going to San Francisco for a year under Kyle Shanahan, and kind of resetting his career.
Yep.
Then he gets that chance with Minnesota, runs away with it, and he's done a fantastic job.
And Daniel Jones was another example of a guy who
Baker Mayfield, those guys. So, and I think that's probably a lesson for a lot of these quarterbacks. Like a Malik Willis, he's going to get opportunity. where's that balance going to be? Do you want the cash and a potential to start, or do you want to be in a position where longevity?
Yeah.
You
And I think it takes a time for this game to slow down for these quarterbacks. And it takes the right coaches to kind of get you in that spot to where you can see the game through their eyes and I think for like Malik Willis, I think coming to the Packers as really like their system, whatever it was, clicks better with him.
Yep.
So he's able to kind of see what the field. I think Sam Darnold's, again, kind of just a dysfunctional start to his career. Then goes to San Francisco, has a coach there that kind of says, okay, this is what we're looking at. And since then, has found the success. So, it's like
Mac Jones this year with the 49ers for a little bit.
Yeah,
it's kind of like pitchers going to the Brewer system, it feels like.
These guys have talent. It's just a matter of them. Do they have what it takes? But even if you have what it takes, you got to have the coach. I mean, the Daniel Jones thing about how many offensive coordinators he had. And you look back, it was like Alex Smith was another one of those guys who, like 5 coordinators. Like, how are they supposed to? Like, you're changing up their system every year, and by the time they get comfortable. So
that's where, when it gets to these head coach hirings, I'm really curious to see, so like the Giants have been attached with Jeff Hafley. Jeff Hafley's from the area,
Yep.
But you got Jackson Dart. So, I mean, do you want a offensive-minded head coach to where, okay, you're going to have that same system for your young quarterback for a few years?
Yeah.
Or do you bring in a defensive guy, and then he gets to hire an offensive coordinator that gets to work? But if that offensive coordinator has success, then he's going to be a head coach somewhere.
I mean, it doesn't take long, and you can see how much losing an losing coordinator. I mean, the Lions are probably the biggest example this year of you lose coordinators, and it takes a while. The learning curve was there.
Yeah.
And you lose one game too many, which you could probably go back to the Packer game. Now, granted, the Packers lose one more game too many too. There, it would be the Lions in the playoffs there, but it took a little learning curve for them to figure out where they were going to be, and that's what could happen to any of these teams if you lose their coordinators.
Right, and then you can look at it from Baltimore with losing Mike McDonald as their defensive coordinator, who's now the head coach at Seattle the last 2 years.
Yeah.
They flip-flopped really in defensive stuff in that too. So
I mean, that Ravens team is, I guess that those windows seem a lot shorter now.
Yeah.
That Ravens team last year, you would have said, even the beginning of the year.
Yeah. Well, it was Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens.
Yeah.
I think we were all saying it's between those three and whatever else.
But even watching Lamar and I just don't think we know how banged up he is. Because even at that last drive, and I don't know if you remember, there was the one where he kind of just lobbed the pass, and you're just sitting there. If this is Lamar last year, 2 years ago, he's running that and getting the first down by – and I think maybe those injuries, and now that's crept in the back of your head of I'm going to get hurt. And that happens when I don't want to feel this pain anymore.
Right.
That's why it's amazing mentality for these guys to go out there and watch guys run at you that are 200, 300 pounds as fast as they can. Their job is to bowl you over. It's amazing what these guys can do in the NFL.
Right. No,
Peyton Tune, to go out there like yesterday and no.
And Brian Flores wasn't letting up.
No, exactly. It's like, oh my gosh, this guy's just a sitting target almost. It's like, all right, sacrificial lamb, go out there and do it. So just hats off to those guys for being able to handle that.
Yeah, I hope Packers fans realize that Jordan Love had no right to play that. I didn't want that to happen. I was still surprised they suited him up.
Right.
And I loved LaFleur's comment. It's like, if Love had to go in there, it would have been straight off handoffs. Why not just have Desmond Ritter?
Oh, I know. Well, that or just, hey, emergency quarterback.
Yeah.
Practice handoffs during the week. Because we're not going to do much with. I said it. I tweeted. It's like, just run a single wing offense and just bring out 3 running backs and just have them flow to one side. And
I think everybody was kind of holding their breath when Jane Reed had to go in there for Bo Melton. Whenever they did 3 wide receiver sets, just don't get hurt.
I thought it would have been the ultimate heel move for LaFleur on the last drive. Just throw Jordan Love out there and just starts.
I loved it that he called timeout with 1 second left just to kick a field goal.
We all thought the game was over because we were watching on the monitors. We were sitting down by the locker room, and we're all watching it, and we're like, "Oh, it's over, okay." And we were about to send our web story to the website, and I go to Philip. I'm like, "Stop!" Because they went to the final graphic, and then all of a sudden they put it back. I'm like, "Oh no, there's still a second left." Vegas not a fan of that move, I hear.
No, because I think, didn't it open up as a 12.5-point favorite?
So There are people lost money on that one. But hey, you open the door to that, that's what you get.
Yep. I think it was more just from, hey, we're not going to get shut out sort of feeling.
That would have been the third time they had ever been shut out. It was 71. That was the 3-0 game. By the way, just look at that box score. It's crazy.
Is it the one
Vikings
you tweeted?
had 80 yards total offense. It was 45 degrees and windy, but that's no reason to not. Yeah. The Packers didn't do anything. They lost 3-0 in that one. And then it was 2017. They got shut out. I can't remember if that was a Rodgers was gone game or.
2017.
It was 16-0 was the final.
I mean, I'll double check it.
But yeah, so those were the two shutouts, or not 16. It was something else.
Okay.
16-0 would have been yesterday's.
16-0 was 2017.
Oh, it was.
Yep.
Oh, wow, I didn't even realize it would have been the same score too.
Case Keenum, Brett Hundley.
Okay.
Yep. Brett Hundley had 17 of 40 for 2 picks. So
was that right before?
That was
Rodgers came back.
They were 7-8. Green Bay was. Minnesota was 12-3. So that was their.
Okay. See, and again, a game like that still had something because the Vikings were good. Packers not so much that year.
No.
But yeah, so
that was when Michael Clark led the team in receiving. Remember Michael Clark, the tall, lanky receiver?
Oh my gosh.
And Lance Kendricks was second in receiving yards.
Well, it's going to be like this game.
Yeah.
When you look at the who are your leading receivers? It was so funny because none of the guys were on the actual flip card. Half the guys were called up, so they gave you the additional the call, and so you're trying to figure out who's 84.
Oh my gosh!
It was like a preseason game in that, so it was just kind of a crazy atmosphere.
Wow!
And some trivia questions of who started the last game
That's
of the
going to be
2025 season.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a really quick break before we wrap up things here this morning. So we'll be back here in just a couple minutes. All right, we're back for just a couple minutes left here. So, not a whole lot of picks. Bucks played last night. They got to win, but now they got a huge stretch where it's Warriors, Lakers, Nuggets twice, Thunder, Spurs, T-Wolves.
Hey, we've got the new Giannis out there, though. He's not taking prisoners anymore. He's just out there, just mean mugging it up, and
I think this is a season-defining stretch, though.
yeah,
You're a half game behind the Hawks for the 10th spot. If you don't win any of these games or such, and you dig yourselves into a bigger hole with a month left to go of the trade deadline.
are the Wizards off the schedule now, or do they still?
No, they still got the Wizards.
Okay, because I mean, I've watched. For some reason, those are the games I probably have watched the most of, and to watch them lose both of those games is just.
Where did I know they got the Wizards again coming up because I saw it, and I probably should have included it during their stretch because for whatever reason it's them and the Hornets. They can't,
I mean, it's the defense.
Mm-hmm.
They just can't play defense anymore.
No.
And it's gotten worse. I thought it would at least get a little bit better.
Yep.
It has not.
Yeah. Nope.
You're making Giannis has to score 35 or more. And even the Wizards game, it's the closeout there at the end. It's, you get that to let him even get that shot off McCollum, get that.
Mm-hmm.
Not Reagan on our Derry Bird there, but it was that was a whole team effort to let him get in the corner and get that shot off.
Yeah.
So it's been. I think they'll get to that last playoff spot. If Giannis can stay healthy, I think they can keep creeping back up there.
I hope so. Otherwise, it's going to be a brutal few weeks before the trade deadline.
Doc Rivers is thinking is he happy about coming back after?
I don't think he is.
I
mean, he's moving up on the wins list and such, but
I feel like he probably thought he was going to have a lot more to play with, and it's now become Giannis and Bobby Portis puts up big games every once in a while.
Kevin Porter Jr. and Ryan Rollins have been nice surprises and such. But
I don't know if Miles Turner has put up enough to justify the hype that he had. Kuzma has actually come around and had some decent games here as of late, but on paper it looks like it should be a decent team, but defensively they're just not getting it done.
No, I think that's where it's at too. So, all right, dude. Shot clock's going to cut us off here in about 10 seconds. So thanks for stopping by getting back into a little bit of the regular ways of things now. So.
That is a nice Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles hat.
Thank you.
For those of you watching at home, that is
it's a golf hat.
That is really cool.
Golf New Era one. So
I like it.
Yeah.
You are a hero and a half, Shell.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day. Same place, same time tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. We'll chat with you then.